The story begins with a girl locking her eyes onto a boy, her gaze soft yet filled with intensity, as she whispers, "Haruto-kun, fall in love with me," sending a sudden jolt through the stillness around them. The boy, Akahara Haruto, stands there, an ordinary and unpopular high school student, his face flushing in shock. His life had always been nothing more than quiet, uneventful days spent alone because of his father's work, until this very moment, when she steps closer, closing the distance between them and changing everything. With a calm and gentle voice, she tells him that being with Haruto-kun makes her feel at ease, her expression soft, yet carrying something deeper. His eyes widen as he hears that no boy has ever made her feel this way before, that he is her first. She leans in even closer, her gaze unwavering, while his thoughts spiral, realizing he might be the only one she shows this affection to, wondering if something straight out of a manga or drama could truly happen. The space between them growing heavy with unspoken emotions. Overwhelmed by warmth and confusion, the moment feels too real to deny, his thoughts racing as he realizes that this is happening right now. Her arms gently wrap around him, her expression calm and content, while his face turns red and his head spins from the closeness. A single thought echoes in his mind. How did things end up like this again? Just a few days earlier, the classroom had been filled with low chatter, while at a desk in the corner, Haruto finished his lunch with a calm expression, thinking about how the afternoon felt slow and drowsy. 8 months had passed since he entered high school, each day blending into the next in quiet normalcy. With no remarkable moments and no particular talents to stand out, he sat there in thought, his cheek resting against his hand, unaware that something far from ordinary was about to unfold. A friendly classmate waved at him and asked about his plans for the weekend, his voice bright and inviting. Though Haruto was not particularly popular, he still had a few friends, just another average student among many. The invitation sounded tempting, especially with something interesting recently discovered that would appeal to boys like them. Yet he quickly turned it down, earning a playful complaint in return. Then, a sudden voice called out sharply, making Haruto turn his head in surprise, catching both him and his friend off guard. 2 girls walked side by side, one smiling brightly while the other adjusted her glasses, mentioning that they needed to head to another room for the next class. Their presence immediately caught Haruto's attention, as he recognized them as Keiho and Yukikoto Yukino. Among them was Sasaki, Keiho, his childhood friend, and the girl who had rejected him half a year ago. Yet seeing her now stirred a different kind of thought, something that might excite an unpopular boy like him, a small smile forming on his lips. Memories of their final year in middle school surfaced warmly, where Keiho's cheerful face had shown as she promised they would aim for the same high school together, even offering to help him study. That promise became his motivation to follow her path, determined to reach the same level as a model student like her. After countless hours of effort, he succeeded, earning a place in the same class and feeling genuine happiness. Days filled with shared moments, watching movies together in quiet theaters, sitting side by side in cafes, and talking comfortably made it seem as if their feelings were mutual, their bond growing stronger over time. Then, under the soft memory of a classroom, during the 6th month of their first year, he confessed his feelings to Keiho. Her warm eyes softened as she gently told him she did not see him that way. Those words left a sting that lingered, the realization of his misunderstanding sinking deeply into his heart. The pain led to days of silence, the space between them turning awkward and distant. Still, unwilling to lose that connection entirely, he chose to draw close again, this time through Keiho's friend, Yukino, whose quiet presence behind her glasses carried a calm and comforting aura. Back in the classroom, Keiho spoke with her usual bright energy, while Yukino stood beside her with a gentle smile, both leaning toward Haruto's desk as their conversation flowed naturally. Talking casually about small things, the atmosphere felt light again, as if their relationship had slowly returned to how it once was. Walking through the hallway, Haruto found himself thinking how it would take a miracle for him to ever have a girlfriend after being rejected by the girl closest to him. Still, no matter how he looked at it, Keiho remained undeniably cute, her bright smile lingering in his memory. As he passed by a doorway, something caught his eye. Yukino, standing quietly in the sunlight, her long dark hair and composed expression giving off a graceful presence that naturally drew his attention. His gaze shifted fully toward the doorway, where she stood bathed in light from outside, her presence impossible to ignore. Her eyes met his, a subtle spark of recognition flickering between them as she began to step closer. the ribbon in her hair swaying gently with each movement. The name surfaced in an instant. Makoto ray, her expression calm, yet unwavering, as if this meeting carried a weight that could not be ignored. Haruto's eyes shifted toward the girl standing by the desk, her presence quietly commanding the room. Thoughts compared her beauty to any in the school, yet it was clear she fit the title of number one. Long hair framed a face both elegant and distant, as if she radiated cold air all around her. Known not only as the top student in the grade, but also as the invincible beauty, everyone called her the Ice Goddess. From those who respect and admire her to those who act cold and indifferent, the title Ice Goddess followed her everywhere, though to some it was met with a laugh. No matter the opinion, she remained an entity far beyond reach. In the midst of these thoughts, an unexpected hug came from the side, and the sudden closeness made Haruto turn his head, meeting Keiho's bright gaze as she asked what had caught his attention. Keiho leaned in far too close, prompting a flustered reaction as Haruto's gaze darted toward Makoto. Words tumbled out, admitting the focus was on Makoto, who had just returned from the nurse's office. A quick thought followed, wondering if Keiho knew they would be heading to a different class next period. Her puzzled tilt only made her seem even cuter in that moment. Yukio offered to deliver the message, prompting Haruto to stand, while the thought of speaking to the Ice Goddess drew amazed cheers of good luck from Keiho and Yukino. Approaching Makoto, he paused, wondering if she was really that scary, as her calm gaze settled on him with quiet curiosity. Makoto sat with flawless poise, her hand resting lightly against her chin, the air around her carrying a silent warning that kept others at a distance. Even while seated, she appeared like a masterpiece, her beauty almost too perfect, making it hard to approach. From the way things looked, no one seemed willing to deliver the message, leaving her untouched in her quiet, commanding space. With a steady breath, the decision was made. There was no choice but to step forward. Makoto's eyes lifted toward the movement, her presence as composed as ever, though the air between them felt heavy. Avoiding the urge to look down at her, the approach continued despite her seeming to ignore it. Standing close, a polite request broke the silence, asking if there could be a moment to talk. Yet she remained silent. Calling her name softly brought no response, the silence stretching heavy in the air. The voice rose, addressing her fully and calling her name, and at last her gaze lifted, eyes sharp yet calm, looking forward with an expression that carried both mystery and quiet strength, as if measuring the weight of the moment before her. Haruto's eyes widened, a faint blush rising as the presence of the school's goddess became clear, the thoughts settling in about the fuss surrounding the number one beauty. Yet in the midst of that quiet awe, an image of a bright and cheerful smile appeared in mind, Keiho's warm and lively presence shining stronger. The thought lingered, a preference leaning toward that vibrant charm, even if it didn't matter here. Haruto stood stiff, forcing out a question about what was being read, the words trembling from nervousness. Thoughts swirled, realizing the talk had drifted into something ordinary, a sign of just how tense the moment felt. Makoto's gaze stayed calm and distant as a single word left her lips, book, her tone cold and final, leaving the air heavy with quiet. Haruto glanced at the cover, the thought settling in about why she was called the Ice Goddess. Fingers brushed the book, curiosity sparking, until her sudden words caught him off guard, calling the title interesting, Black Widower. His eyes widened, the tension shifting into surprise as her gaze met his for the first time with a hint of intrigue. Makoto's calm eyes held no excitement, as she admitted the book was not interesting at all. Haruto's words guessed if the story made one fall asleep, earning a short confirmation, while Keiho watched quietly from the side. The question came about why it was read despite being boring, and her answer was simple: it was bought, so it would be a waste not to read it. Haruto paused in thought, then stepped back with a small smile. Makoto looked up briefly before calmly telling him to wait, her hand still on the desk as she began to move something aside, holding out a book while speaking about a love for mystery stories, and mentioning one recently read that was very interesting. Haruto offered to lend the book. His words met with a moment of silence as Makoto looked on. She found it peculiar, noting it was the first time that day talking to someone and being handed a book, a soft laugh escaping her lips. Her expression softened, eyes gentle as she accepted it, quietly saying thank you. Haruto's heart raced at the rare sight of a goddess-like smile, the beauty of the Ice Goddess leaving him breathless. Yet in an instant, her eyes sharpened into a piercing glare, calling his name with calm precision, the shift in expression carrying a weight that silenced the air around them. Makoto's expression turned firm as she told him to return to his seat if there was no more business, her tone as cold as her title implied. Haruto quickly delivered the message about the next class in the audiovisual room, making it clear it was not about novels. A brief silence followed before her gaze softened just enough to offer a quiet thanks. Then she fell silent once more. Haruto stepped away with a quick "alright then," trying to keep calm, yet the rush of nerves hit hard after answering so bluntly. Across the room, Makoto sat in quiet poise, her beauty striking like a model or an actress, making the thought of lending a book to someone like her feel almost unreal. A flicker of excitement sparked as the idea of entering a popular period danced in the mind, though brushed off with a playful "just kidding," the moment still carrying a quiet thrill. Upon returning, Ko and Yukino welcomed with bright curiosity, eager to know the outcome, their eyes shining with anticipation. Haruto glanced back slightly, admitting she was definitely something, the moment still vivid in thought. A faint smile curved his lips as his gaze softened, the image of the quiet yet overwhelming ice goddess lingering all right, in a lot of ways. Makoto's calm gaze held a distant beauty, cold yet flawless, like an ice goddess far beyond the reach of an average person. Her presence felt like an untouchable entity, stunning as a goddess and just as distant. In the quiet that followed, the thought settled that in a few months, classes would change, and the path with Makoto would no longer cross. The thought at that time was certain it would end just like that. The small apartment stood quiet, a place unchanged since before the father's transfer. Stepping through the door with a faint murmur of "I'm home," the empty space answered only with a familiar sign "currently away on the job," leaving the habit of greetings still lingering in the air. A quiet laugh escaped while noting that living alone meant no one would answer anyway, until an unexpected voice replied, "Welcome home." The door opened to reveal a figure standing there, leaving a stunned expression frozen in place. Shock sparked instantly, the mind racing with disbelief at the sudden and impossible sight. Makoto's calm voice spoke the name Akahora-kun, her gaze steady as she stood in the room. The sudden sight left him stiff at the doorway, disbelief written across his face. With a graceful step, she questioned the frozen stance, comparing it to seeing a ghost, her presence filling the space with quiet certainty. Haruto's voice trembled in shock at the sight of Makoto, her composed gaze unwavering as she stood before him. The question rose if the wrong room had been entered, confusion clear in his expression. Yet with calm certainty, she stated there was no mistake, the door sign reading room 301 Akahara Haruto's home, making the encounter all the more baffling. Makoto's cheeks flushed as she said that from now on this room would be her home as well, her voice calm but firm, leaving Haruto standing frozen, eyes wide in shock at the sudden words. Haruto panicked at the idea of having to move out, but Makoto said no one said to move, confirming she now lived there. With a faint blush, she explained it couldn't be helped, and that she had to live together with Haruto. The door opened fast as Makoto watched calmly, her eyes steady. Haruto froze, thinking it was a prank, looking for the camera and the culprit hiding. The thought hit that this was not like picking up a lost cat on the street and living together just like that. Makoto asked what was being done, while his hands slipped and he muttered it was nothing, face red with confusion. Haruto fell back with a flump as books scattered. Realizing this was where those books were put away, Makoto held one and asked what book that was. His face turned red and he stammered, saying sorry and promising to clean these up right away. Haruto's eyes widened, realizing Makoto was close, more importantly close enough to see her clearly. Makoto gasped, her face turning red as the moment froze between them. Makoto's face turned red as she called him the worst, demanding where he was looking and saying this was awful, asking if it was on purpose. She swore all boys think are only those kind of stuff, lashing out like a furious cat. Haruto's face turned red as he said sorry, swearing it wasn't on purpose. It was the first time seeing Makoto show this much emotion. While she thought this was the worst and questioned why a girl who hates men had to live with a boy like him. Frustration swirled with confusion, questioning why she agreed if truly against the idea. Words pressed harder, saying now that it was seen, it couldn't be helped, but if so opposed, why come here at all? Makoto flinched slightly, her composed expression faltering for a moment. Makoto's eyes widened as her voice trembled, offering an unsteady apology. Haruto looked on in surprise, caught off guard by the sudden change in her tone and expression. Her cheeks flushed while she asked to be spared, admitting there was nowhere else to go. Makoto stood with a timid look, asking not to be thrown out, while a heavy feeling of guilt sank in like a terrible prank had been done. Thoughts swirled, wondering if she had been thrown out of her home, recalling rumors that she was the daughter of a famous company. More importantly, questions rose about why she had to live in such a cheap apartment, the situation growing more puzzling with each moment. Makoto calmly held up the keys, saying if it's the keys, they are here, while Haruto panicked, asking how she got the keys, and if the doors had been left unlocked. She explained they were given by the person named Akahara Amane, the small cat keychain swinging lightly as his eyes widened at hearing it was from Amane. Haruto thought about a cousin named Amane Nizan, a university student who was no different from family, and had lived there until recently, now in America studying abroad. The memory made him call her that damn free-spirited woman. Haruto rushed forward, saying screw it, and not caring what time it was in America, deciding to call right now. Thinking the house keys were very important, and she needed to explain herself, the phone rang until a voice answered, "Hello? This is Amane Akahara," and Haruto replied, "This is Haruto." "Akahara Haruto." Amane Nizan greeted with a lively voice, saying it had been a while and asking how Haruto had been. While he firmly said there was an important thing to ask, why give the key house to a classmate? She replied calmly, saying it was about time the call came. Amane Nizan said the keys were given before going abroad, and told Makoto Reisen over the phone that she could live in that house, while Haruto listened with a stunned look as laughter came through the call. Haruto said Amane Nizan was too carefree and hard to read, and she replied that it couldn't be helped because Makoto Rei could no longer be in her former house. Amane Nizan said her family's circumstances were difficult, and the house was uninhabitable, so that's why to protect her, as she is a second cousin. Haruto reacted in shock, asking if Makoto-san was really a second cousin, while she added that the girl doesn't trust anyone, and asked if he had already threatened her. Amane Nizan said to please be kind to her, and let her stay for a while Haruto wondered about a high school girl being chased out of her own home, feeling like it was a whole different conversation. As given her situation, feeling threatened in all directions was understandable. Haruto held his head, thinking this was just ridiculous. So many things to retort here, probably 30 or more. The thought lingering that she can't even get her old belongings, as the call ended with a quick need to hurry. Haruto grew tense, thinking studying abroad is difficult, but holy crap, how irresponsible can she be? Calling dad, but he didn't pick up. The thought pressing that there is no choice but to live with Makoto-san, a sudden sneeze escaping before turning with a curious. Makoto blushed, covering her mouth in surprise. Haruto hurried over saying for now wear him blazer, realizing he forgot to turn on the heater, and promising to turn it on soon. Makoto turned away, blushing and insisting she didn't need it, refusing with the words not wanting to be indebted, Haruto urging that a cold would be caught. The thought flashing in his mind of what's wrong with this unlovable creature, picturing a small threatening pose like a tamandwa. Haruto thought she acts like a wary stray cat that got picked up to a new home, wondering why she's so reluctant to wear it when it's just a coat. A voice reminded that girl doesn't trust anyone, and to please be kind to her. Makoto standing quietly, as the thought repeated she's a stray cat, ending with a sigh, and the words you don't need to overthink this. Haruto said this is his house, feeling bad to leave someone cold and shivering, but Makoto replied not caring, and saying it's not cold anyway, making him say don't be stupid, looks worse by the minute, want to freeze to death. Haruto pushed the coat toward her, saying just wear it, and even offering to be indebted if she did, asking if a blanket was wanted instead. But her soft reply was neither, leaving him pausing before she stepped forward, arms wrapping in a sudden squeeze. Haruto opened the refrigerator with a soft click, looking inside before asking about hot chocolate, honey hot milk, or coffee if milk wasn't liked. Makoto, wrapped in a blanket, sat with a faint blush, saying there was no plan to receive that much from Haruto. Haruto knew Makoto would say that, but no one could ignore it if the one in front looked that cold. Then an idea came, yet doubt remained, thinking no matter what was done it would be denied, urging to try to read her. Haruto smiled, saying being cold made a drink sound good, and with a guest it was obvious to prepare one, then asked which one. But Makoto quietly chose honey hot milk, making Haruto feel he got her. It seemed the ice goddess didn't like receiving kindness from anyone. While preparing the drink, a thought came to prepare a bath as well. Soon it was done, 2 warm mugs placed on the table. Makoto held one, shaking it gently before taking a sip. Makoto sipped from the cup, her cheeks warm and eyes gentle. Haruto watched, thinking she only drinks milk here, but she's beautiful, feeling a quiet throb inside. Mikoto said being really cold made the drink taste good, while Haruto thought maybe the cold made her demeanor lessen, and told her a warm bath was prepared, suggesting to take it after finishing the drink. Haruto stood up, saying to warm up from the cold a warm bath was needed, and Mikoto also thought of that, receiving her quiet yes, making him feel he got the hang of this. Mikoto, holding her cup. Her eyes widened slightly as she asked what was wrong, while Haruto looked at her in surprise, admitted not having a change of clothes, processing the sudden realization. Then noticed she doesn't wear anything besides school uniform, and doesn't seem like carrying anything. Haruto looked serious, thinking how terrible for a high school girl to be alone out there on a winter night. He quickly turned and said he'll lend his clothes, telling her to wait here, while she stood still, quiet in her uniform, the air around her calm. He handed over the clothes, saying only his and his dad's old clothes were there, so please bear with it for now. She looked down and quietly said thank you, then asked is this yours, holding the shirt gently. He answered yeah. He smiled and said it's properly washed so don't worry, calling himself quite a precise person after all. She looked over and said for a high school boy living alone, properly organized, then added thanks, her voice quiet as she sat wrapped in the blanket. That reminds came with a spark of thought. Then he asked have you eaten dinner yet? His words followed with do you have any allergies or food you don't like? She looked at him and said I haven't and not particularly. Her arm still held the clothes as the sound of steps echoed. Then a voice called out, the bath is ready. He said please take a bath first, while she stood with a confused look, and said still have many questions. The door closed, and a quiet thought followed still feel a bit nervous living with Mikoto, just the two of us, standing in the kitchen with apron tied. One clear thought filled the air more importantly, is he starving? She stepped forward, her cheeks slightly red as she held the red jersey. Her soft eyes looked ahead, calm but warm. He froze, thinking she looks erotic, then stared at the jersey and thought it's ruined by red jersey. She stared and asked what are you looking at, her hand resting on the red jersey. His face turned red as he asked is the size okay? She looked down and said too big, then asked is there anything smaller? She stood still with a cold stare, arms crossed, saying then it's pointless to ask me in the first place. He looked away and thought now that she's warmed up her cuteness is gone instantly. With a smile he said now that you have warmed up let's eat shall we? Then pointed to the table and said Tada, Omiris. She looked down and said didn't say that was hungry, her cheeks slightly red as she held the jersey. He stood by the table and said made this for myself, but made too many, then smiled and added thought it'd be helpful to finish this together. Timidly stepping forward, Mikoto's stomach growled, her cheeks warming as she asked if she could eat it, and with the chair rattling, Haruto's eager reply to come and sit filled the moment with sudden warmth. Mikoto took a small bite with a soft bit, then covered her mouth as her eyes widened in surprise with the taste. Mikoto called Akahara a weird person, saying she wouldn't be so generous, while he smiled softly and wondered if it was really that generous. Mikoto mentioned being given a coat and blanket, a warm drink, a warm bath, and food without asking. Hearing that if that was not generous, then what could it be called? Before quietly wondering if being there was allowed, even though it was forced. Saying that considering the circumstances and not knowing her exact situation, it couldn't be done. While she looked down with a faint sparkle in her eyes, Haruto admitted not wanting to leave Mikoto alone. Mikoto said that even as second cousins they were basically strangers, wondering why it would be thought otherwise, while Haruto repeated the word strangers in response. Haruto said that from today living together meant not being strangers anymore, and wanted to at least get along with his housemate, while Mikoto's eyes widened at his words. Mikoto said about being actually willing to be accepted, thinking of all places lived in and never receiving this kind of treatment, while Haruto looked on in surprise. Mikoto thanked him, saying the omiris was delicious and a wonderful meal, while Haruto thought her smile was beautiful and felt amazed to be sincerely thanked by the ice goddess herself. Mikoto's eyes narrowed with resolve, stating won't accept generosity anymore, then firming that this will be the only one and last favor. Hands tight on the lap as the room falls quiet. Head bowed. A faint tremble surfaces because don't deserve to receive this much kindness, while Akahara Haruto jolts from the chair, surprise and tension thicken the air. Haruto looks up, startled, while the thought lands alone and don't even have anything. To have a roof protecting from the rain, and the wind is more than enough. Then Mikoto lifts her gaze with quiet resolve, promising before causing any more trouble, will quickly find the next house to live in. At first thought she disliked receiving generosity, but this is more serious. While saying disliked is not wrong. Drinks, baths, meals, can't return the favor or money. In Makoto-san's place would do the same. To have a roof over the head is more than enough, anything else too much. Haruto folds arms, eyes steady, thinking kind of understand where Makoto-san is coming from. A quiet alright settling in. Then, voice firm and earnest, declares won't change stance on this, and adds even so, if any problems please tell. Fingers clench as Akahara-kun is called softly, head bowed for a moment before eyes lift with a faint blush and a gentle, amused smile. Then the quiet verdict lands, really a weird person leaving the room warm with a shy, tender tension. The night goes on with quiet laughter. Then Haruto says alright and offers Makoto-san the room Amei-Nizan used to sleep in. Later Makoto slides inside, kneels and looks around, while Haruto stays by the doorway, nervous and surprised. The layout shows connected to Haruto's room by a thin door with no lock. Makoto blushes and says can already see that without telling. Haruto holds head thinking no more room to use except this one, aware she's wary. Hands raised in a pledge, Haruto vows never to come to this side ever, and says if ever comes then please kill. Makoto replies, alright, slightly startled and with a faint blush Makoto says, then, good night. Later an apology is offered for having to sleep with Haruto's jersey. The jersey called too big. A warning careful with footing, or you'll comes too late, as a sudden slip sends her off balance. Eyes wide in shock while hair and jacket fly, and he reaches out in alarm as the room tenses. Haruto's face turned red in shock, hands waving fast with frantic words of didn't, while Makoto, blushing and trembling, asked if that was seen, slamming the door before standing with teary eyes and soft sobs, then shouted to definitely find the next place to stay. Hand covering the face, Haruto muttered saw it, while the heavy thought lingered that communication with the ice goddess was now hanging by a thread. Lying awake in the quiet night, eyes wide open, Haruto whispered can't sleep. Mind restless when thinking about the person living under the same roof, especially when that person is the school's #1 beauty, Makoto Rei-san. In a vivid imagination, Makoto lay peacefully asleep, so close, her calm breathing and gentle expression filling the quiet, the thought lingering that of course, she's sleeping now. Eyes squeezed shut in frustration, Haruto's thoughts spiraled in panic, questioning what was being imagined, before forcing the mind to stop and shouting inwardly to just go to sleep already. The alarm rang at 6, and Haruto lay in bed with a tired stare, thinking that just when sleep finally came, morning had already arrived. Wondering if Makoto-san was still asleep, the decision formed to prepare first. Standing by the door, Haruto called out that breakfast was ready, guessing she might be thinking don't be nice again, then added with a smile that too much was made, so eating together would be a big help. Haruto considered waking her to avoid being late, but hesitated at the thought of her changing, only for Makoto to suddenly turn in surprise, calling his name with wide eyes. Rushing with the thought that she must still be asleep, the urgency of being late to school pushed every step faster. At the moment the entryway came into view, everything froze. The place where her shoes should be lay empty, the quiet air whispering only one thing, she was already gone. Haruto stood still, eyes wide in surprise, the thought flashing did she just go ahead to school? Hands gripping his head in frustration. Thoughts raced sleep deprived, and she just silently left like a ninja. What stung more was the lack of even a simple good morning or goodbye, leaving the morning air feeling strangely empty. And after eating breakfast alone, Haruto headed to school, still restless from a sleepless night. Haruto spotted Makoto already at school, quietly reading with her usual composed air, the thought settling that she had gone ahead after all. Living under the same roof was expected to change daily life, eating together, sleeping next to his room, yet the reality felt different. The morning passing with barely a word exchanged. Friends greeted Haruto with cheerful voices, pointing out the tired bags under his eyes, while another laughed that it was just the usual. Eyes down on her desk, and Haruto walked past with a glance, noting it was the usual Makoto-san. Nearby, Makoto sat with her usual don't talk to me aura. Haruto kept a measured distance, knowing that suddenly getting close to Makoto would draw suspicion. Yet the thought lingered that they had grown closer. A glance from her made his heart tighten, the question forming if being overly conscious was his alone. In the end, the feeling settled with a quiet sting guess that was wrong. Even though conversations had flowed before, now Makoto walked ahead with a clear distance, her steps steady, yet avoiding his presence. Haruto's gaze followed, the thought pressing that the space between them felt farther than ever, as if she was frankly avoiding him from the start. Because thoughts were filled with Makoto, focus in class slipped away, and the day ended just like that. Of course, Makoto went home first, leaving the walk back feeling colder, the heart frozen solid. Sleepy and chilled, the only thought was to hurry home, until a sudden sight on the way sparked surprise. Keiho's bright voice called out with Yuki close beside, both smiling warmly as they hurried up from behind. Haruto turned in surprise, recognizing them instantly and greeting with a casual remark, only for Keiho to point out they had been right there all along. Yukino stepped forward with a shy look, softly saying sorry for surprising Akikon, while beside her, Keiho pointed out that there was no realization at all. Haruto, still flustered, asked why the tailing happened, telling her to just talk like a normal person. Keiho leaned in with a playful smile, saying was wondering when it would be noticed, while Haruto's voice grew tense, pleading not to be toyed with. Yukino blushed, saying sorry, and that calling made her nervous, while Haruto wondered how after knowing each other since middle school there was still nervousness. A sharp glare came as Keiho stepped forward, warning not to come any closer. Thinking of joking with Keiho like always, Haruto remembered and wondered why Yuki tried so hard, thinking how thanks to her, Keiho and Haruto managed to get along again, the quiet and reserved Yuki always reeling her in. Keiho lifted her arms with a bright smile, saying as of why followed, while Haruto stepped back in surprise. Keiho leaned in with a bright smile, saying it was to ask a favor, while Haruto froze with wide eyes, stammering a question and flushing red, his voice trembling that she was too close. Yukino looked flustered, telling Keiho not to tell everything, but Keiho cheerfully explained how Yuki wanted to play a newly released game and felt lonely playing alone. With a playful wink and a bright smile, Keiho asked if they could play it at Haruto's house. Haruto froze in shock, thinking how even Keiho never came to the house anymore after rejecting him. Now realizing both of them were going to visit, the surprise turned into excitement, calling it good news thanks to Yuki wanting to play, seeing her as a savior, and feeling certain they could finally get back together as friends. Haruto's face turned pale in shock, realizing they would find out about living together with Makoto-san. And while playing, there was the chance Makoto-san might come home, or was already there making their encounter inevitable. Thoughts raced about how a boy and a girl sharing a home would look suspicious, thinking it was painful but necessary to turn her down. Standing before the two girls with a conflicted look, Keiho looked up with hopeful eyes, asking if they could come. While Haruto's face tensed with hesitation, Keiho's eyes widened slightly, a hint of worry in her voice as she wondered if it was because of her. Then her lips curved into a warm smile, brushing it off with a bright laugh, saying it was just playing with friends and nothing to worry about. And Keiho smiled brightly, saying he should be happy because two beautiful girls like her and Yuki would come to his house. Haruto waved his hands nervously, saying he'd actually welcomed them, but had an errand to do alone, apologizing quickly, while Yukino looked flustered at Keiho's words. Haruto bowed his head in frustration, apologizing to Keiho, while she smiled gently, saying living alone was hard and she was sorry for suddenly asking. Inside, Haruto's thoughts spun, knowing it was a good chance yet forcing himself to refuse, telling himself there would be another chance as they had just started getting along again. Yukino watched closely, thinking about protecting Makoto-san's good name and doing the right thing, then stopped and pointed ahead, saying isn't that, making Haruto and Keiho turn to look. Two boys stood in front of Makoto, recognizing her as the girl in the same class as Akikun and Keiho. Nearby, Yukino said she was famous as the ice goddess, while Keiho noted even Yuki from the neighboring class knew her, and Haruto stared in surprise, calling out Makoto-san's name. Makoto pulled her arm away from a boy's grip, her expression tense. Seeing this, Haruto realized she looked uncomfortable and in trouble, quickly saying he would check on her, while Yukino warned it was dangerous. Keiho grabbed Haruto's arm, her eyes filled with concern as she asked him not to fight, while Yukino watched anxiously. Haruto paused, realizing these two knew him from middle school and were worried about him. Haruto gave a reassuring smile, saying not to worry and that he wouldn't fight, then ran ahead, telling them it was dangerous and they should go home first, leaving his bag behind as Keiho called out his name in concern. Makoto stood facing three boys in a deserted, rundown area near an empty escalator, her eyes sharp with suspicion as she asked why they had brought her to such a filthy place and what they were planning. Makoto shudders with wide, startled eyes as the situation takes an unexpected turn. Several male students gather around, one mentioning they told him to rough someone up for a bit. A student smirks dismissively, saying he'll leave that to imagination, while Makoto stands behind asking who. The tension escalates as another student approaches menacingly, stating they're free to do what they please on how to rough someone up. A hand reaches toward Makoto as she reacts with wide, shocked eyes, her face filled with fear and surprise. The situation intensifies as multiple students surround them, with one commenting that's a good reaction, while another tells her to please behave, since she doesn't want to get hurt. The situation escalates as hands reach toward Makoto, who cries out in distress with wide, frightened eyes. A voice questions what she ate to make something this big, while Makoto's expression shows pure terror and helplessness. Makoto cries out desperately, pleading for them to stop and not touch her, tears streaming down her face as she's overwhelmed by fear. The bullies react with shock and pain, one complaining that this underestimated them, while another cries out that it hurt. It turns chaotic as one of them angrily questions if this means they can rough her up all the way. Makoto crouches alone by the school building, her long hair falling around her as the bullies walk away in the distance, defeated and retreating. Makoto's tears flow as she whispers she hates this and pleads for someone to please save her. Haruto suddenly bursts forward with fierce determination, charging ahead to help her in the chaotic moment. Makoto stares with wide, shocked eyes as the bullies cry out in surprise. Haruto stands protectively beside her, both appearing disheveled after the intense confrontation, breathing heavily as they face the aftermath together. Makoto looks up, surprised and confused, asking Akahara Coin why he is here. Haruto, breathing heavily, says he finally found her, and that entering an abandoned building like this is too much. Around them, the bullies lie defeated, one shouting angrily about where that person came from. Haruto's eyes show sweat and apology, saying sorry to Keiho. Keiho holds his arm tightly, her eyes full of worry, asking Haruto not to fight. She admits she can't keep her promise, showing sadness and tension between them. Breaking promises is not liked, and mixing up in this is avoided. Even so, seeing Makoto-san scared and on the verge of tears makes abandoning her impossible. The eyes shine with tears, face flushed with emotion, showing strong feelings and worry. He rushed forward, arms wide with fierce spirit, shielding her friend while vowing swear I'll protect her. With all strength poured into the rush, Akahara Haruto stepped in front, standing firm to shield Makoto-rei. Strange men closed in along the narrow alley, their purpose unknown, the threat heavy in the air. Questions lingered about what they wanted and what Makoto-rei had done, but his determined stance left no room for fear, only the will to protect her. Haruto stands in front, ready to face the others as they ask who he is. Rei stays close behind, looking worried. The others are shocked and say he easily knocked one of their guys out. One boy lies on the ground, surprised and groaning. The group watches Haruto and Rei closely, feeling tense and unsure what will happen next. A boy moves fast, saying getting paid to beat up this woman, and warning not to get in the way. A punch is thrown fiercely. A shout warns to watch out. A girl closes her eyes, anxious and sweaty. Haruto strikes hard, knocking the boy away. The boy stumbles back, shocked and unable to respond. Haruto stands steady, focused and ready for more. Haruto charges forward with determination, shouting damn, as he crashes into the bullies attacking Makoto. The attackers cry out in shock and pain as they're knocked down by his sudden intervention. Afterwards, Haruto stands breathing heavily while Makoto looks up at him with wide, tearful eyes, surprised that someone came to save her. Haruto extends his hand urgently, calling Makoto-san, and saying let's get out of here with determination. Makoto looks up at him with wide, tearful eyes, seeing the hand offered to help her escape. Their hands clasp together as they escape. Haruto says hold on for now with determined concern. Makoto grips his hand, blushing as she whispers hand with surprised eyes. Haruto tells Makoto let's get to the main street for now, as they catch their breath after escaping. They continue running as Haruto says all right. Made it to the main street, Makoto, with relief while she follows beside him, both finally reaching safety. Haruto says all right, made it to the main street, Makoto as they reach safety. Suddenly Makoto trips and falls, while Haruto calls out Makoto-san in alarm as she tumbles down the steps. Haruto rushes to help Makoto asking her okay, sorry, rushed too much while she says ouch on the ground. Makoto struggles but says it's okay. More importantly, need to get away quickly, showing determination despite the pain. Haruto asks Mikoto-san, "Did hurt foot just now?" with concern as she sits in pain. Mikoto says hate it more if got caught because of and what are saying, if got that. Haruto tells her Akahara coin. Run away on own with determined expression. They'll catch with frustration. Mikoto looks at Haruto with tears, saying why did come to such a dangerous place and never ask to save. Akahara-kun with frustration. She says just want to escape, even if it's only Akahara-kun, while looking down. Put that aside and a while ago yelled help. Haruto listens shocked as she says that was. Haruto looks determined saying can't do that, and saying something like that even in this situation with fierce eyes. Mikoto looks surprised as he says wouldn't have come here if just said understand and ran away. Haruto declares already decide to save and protect Mikoto while she gazes at him with amazed eyes. Haruto kneels beside Mikoto, gently placing his hands on her shoulders as he says let's go home. Mikoto looks up at him with wide, surprised eyes, still shaken from what just happened. Haruto's face shows deep concern as he thinks about going through this scary experience and feeling pain, worrying about when she doesn't have to, realizing he can't leave her alone. Haruto helps Mikoto sit up as she responds okay. Then Mikoto looks at him with blushing cheeks, asking if he's going to give her a piggyback, calling piggyback a cute way of saying it as Mikoto covers her face in embarrassment. While Haruto explains it's just a normal way to say it. Mikoto closes her eyes with a gentle smile, telling Akahara-kun that he really is something, then opens her eyes with a soft gaze as Haruto carries her on his back, while Mikoto rests against him thinking really strange as she experiences the warmth and closeness, saying right with a peaceful expression. Haruto sighs while carrying Mikoto, who asks if he's thinking about something weird, calling it an emergency, and saying he can't have impure thoughts. As Haruto panics thinking this soft feeling, and worrying if Mikoto-san found out he was thinking like this, Mikoto calls Haruto a liar as he says he's really sorry. Then Haruto insists he's not thinking about anything at all, soft or marshmallows or that at all. While Mikoto looks down with gentle eyes saying it's okay to think about weird things, but just this once. Mikoto softly says yes while blushing with closed eyes, then opens them with a surprised expression asking oh thank, as her voice trails off with uncertainty. The bullies wonder where Haruto and Mikoto went, asking hey where did they go, while their leader angrily shouts don't let them get away, and that they should have gone this way as they search frantically through the area. Mikoto responds yeah as she holds on to Haruto while they hide, saying they're already catching up and they recovered fast, then urges this is tough, and they need to hurry Mikoto-san, as the sound of footsteps approaches their hiding spot. Haruto carries Mikoto on his back as they move through the area, both breathing heavily from their escape. Haruto pants heavily, sweat dripping as he carries Mikoto who blushes and says Akahara-kun is pretty strong to carry her so easily and run. She relieved that they got away while he breathes hard, simply saying because of the situation. Mikoto sits quietly and asks really while Haruto comments that Mikoto-san is really light. She blushes and mentions going into the room being used, asking that Aside need to treat the wounds. Haruto feels surprised that he took those guys down so easily, while Mikoto responds well, being through a lot in the past and used to it. He reassures her there's nothing going on so don't mind, his tone gentle as they settle into safety. Haruto asks all right, can take off socks while Mikoto blushes and quietly says to treat the injury, her face showing embarrassment as she hesitates in the quiet room. Mikoto cries out Kaya while Haruto panics saying sorry, didn't see anything. She frantically explains ran out of medical tape, so using a plaster instead of this. Haruto apologizes profusely, promising sorry. Will finish quickly as both their faces turn red from the embarrassing situation. While desperately saying pervert, will hold skirt down. Mikoto sits calmly saying don't worry about it. It's better to have someone else do it since hands are shaking, so it's dangerous to do it myself. Haruto looks flustered responding sorry. Maybe just being a nuisance as he tends to her wound in the quiet room. She continues asking doing this for me, right? Her eyes focused on him. Haruto responds don't apologize Mikoto-kun, his voice gentle as they sit together in the quiet moment. Mikoto looks at Haruto with a serious expression, saying there's something need to say. Mikoto sits on the floor with a gentle expression, thanking Haruto so much for saving her when she was being attacked, and for carrying her all the way back here. Haruto sits nearby with a modest blush. Mikoto looks with gentle, grateful eyes as she speaks about taking care of her injuries, expressing that she's grateful for everything. Haruto gazes back with concerned surprise as her heartfelt words fill the quiet moment between them. Mikoto closes her eyes with a gentle expression, saying that today is really the last day she'll thank him. Mikoto insists that she does worry about it, while Haruto tells her that she doesn't have to worry about it. Mikoto looks down with a gentle smile, saying that Haruto's bandaging skills were great even though it tickled a bit. She then gazes at him softly, commenting that Haruto is really good at everything, not just housework, while Haruto responds with a modest laugh. While Mikoto asks if his mother taught him how to do these things, Haruto responds hesitantly. Haruto looks down sadly, as Mikoto listens quietly when he reveals that he doesn't have a mother, he explaining that he tried to learn how to do everything himself. Haruto looks down sadly as he explains that she passed away and got caught in the big fire in Hazuki, while Mikoto listens with surprised eyes. The scene darkens as Haruto continues, saying it took their two-story house and his mother, as well as Ame Nizan's parents, describing the disaster that struck Hazuki City where they live. Haruto waves his hands, saying it's okay, and he was the one who brought it up, while Mikoto covers her face saying sorry for being insensitive. Haruto asks if he can ask a question too, suggesting they call it even, while Mikoto responds sure with a surprised look. Haruto asks why those guys were harassing Mikoto, wondering if she has any idea about it. Mikoto sits quietly, saying she's sorry to bring up something unpleasant, but needs to tell him. The moment feels heavy as she prepares to reveal the truth behind the attack. Mikoto sits with a troubled expression. Haruto tells Mikoto she doesn't have to answer if she won't want to. She reveals the person who probably ordered them to attack her, her face showing the weight of knowing who is behind the danger, then admits she has an idea who it is. Mikoto looks up with tears as she whispers about her family. In the darkness, her voice breaks as she reveals her family hates her, the painful truth finally spoken. Haruto stares with shocked eyes as Mikoto repeats her family hates her. Haruto's face shows concern as he asks they hate her and why, trying to understand her painful situation. Mikoto looks down sadly, explaining because she's an illegitimate child. Mikoto turns away saying she's sorry, but can't say any more. Haruto stares shocked, repeating illegitimate as he processes her words. He calls out Mikoto-san with deep concern, overwhelmed by her painful revelation. A phone shows a message making Haruto react with surprise. Mikoto suddenly cries out in shock and distress. Haruto grabs his phone apologizing, saying sorry forgot to contact, his expression urgent as he realizes he needs to reach someone. Haruto speaks on the phone saying he's really sorry and both Mikoto-san and he are safe. Someone shouts they called so many times and waited for him. Haruto looks troubled explaining he left Keiho and Yuki behind at that time, realizing he abandoned his friends. Mikoto looks gently saying she'll explain at school tomorrow. Someone asks what's going on. Mikoto turns away gracefully, her hair flowing as she prepares to end the conversation until they meet at school. Thinking Mikoto-san didn't want to trouble him, Mikoto-san became silent as the discussion became vague, her figure sitting quietly while Haruto processes the weight of everything that happened and the secrets she's still keeping from him. Haruto reflects that his long day ended leaving a troubling feeling in his mind. Haruto and Mikoto stand close together, both blushing as she speaks about how even though their eyes don't meet yet, something deeper is growing between them. Haruto cooks breakfast alone, steam rising from the pan, as he thinks about how Mikoto-san left for school before him, making him feel a little lonely after waking up earlier than yesterday. His worried expression reveals he can't leave her alone, too concerned about Mikoto-san after yesterday's troubling events. Haruto sits eating when Mikoto appears sleepily saying good morning Akahara-kun, noting he's up early. He responds good morning Mikoto-san, while she stands half asleep in fluffy pajamas. Haruto thinks it's hard to believe she's called the ice goddess at school with this fluffy look, finding her cute as she rubs her sleepy eyes. Mikoto makes a confused sound as her hair flows, then suddenly stumbles forward. Haruto shouts watch out as she falls toward him, both tumbling together. The fall ends with them in an awkward position, Haruto's face red as he panics asking Mikoto-san if she's okay, and mentioning lingering pain in her leg. Haruto and Mikoto lie close together after the fall, both breathing heavily as Mikoto softly says ah. The scene shifts as Mikoto sits up apologizing, saying sorry didn't mean to, while Haruto remains flustered below, both still processing their unexpected closeness. Mikoto covers her face saying she has terrible fever, while Haruto looks shocked calling Mikoto-san. Haruto thinks she's been walking around without winter clothes in freezing cold plus all the stress, realizing no wonder she caught a cold. His worried expression shows as he thinks this must be a cold, and a serious one at that. Haruto tells Makoto she's not fine at all, and he'll get a thermometer as she coughs. Makoto weakly says she's fine but keeps coughing. She collapses while insisting she's fine and can go to school, as Haruto watches with concern, seeing her condition is worse than she admits. Haruto caught Makoto as she collapsed, shouting that she can't push herself. The thermometer showed 39.4 degrees Celsius, while Makoto lay weakly saying no school, her fever clearly too high to ignore. Makoto lay weakly calling out pathetic with tears in her eyes. She whispered to Akahara-kun that she was going to school, her voice fading as the fever overwhelmed her. Haruto sat with his head down wondering what should he do. Leaving a sick person alone troubled him, but from Makoto's perspective it might be an unnecessary concern. Haruto reached out his hand as Makoto gripped it tightly. She looked up with fevered eyes whispering "Stay by my side," her weak voice filled with need. Haruto stared with wide eyes, his face showing complete shock as he muttered in disbelief. Makoto looked up at him with teary, fevered eyes, softly saying "ah" as the moment hung between them. Haruto sat nearby holding his head in his hands, overwhelmed and telling himself to forget what she said. Haruto curled up saying he didn't say anything like that. Haruto covered his face telling Makoto-san what she just said about feeling lonely, right? Haruto smiled gently with determination, saying he really can't leave Makoto-san who has a cold alone. Haruto called his teacher saying, "Excuse me, sensei, this is Akahara, and he'll skip school today too." He then sent Keiho a message saying he's taking the day off, so the explanation will have to wait, sorry. Makoto coughed weakly as Haruto said he can do it. Though he knows this is hard, but can she call the school? Makoto praised him saying he's as efficient as ever while Haruto offered her water, saying let's start with water, and here's a glass. Haruto asked if she finished the call with a good job, telling her to just rest now, okay. Makoto drank water with a flushed face from her fever. Haruto covered his face saying he just felt like taking a day off, while Makoto protested it's not because of her, saying Akahara-kun skipped school because of her. Makoto looked down sadly calling Haruto a liar. She apologized saying sorry with a gentle expression. Haruto panicked telling Makoto-san to just rest peacefully as she leaned against him weakly. Haruto stands quietly, recalling how he made sure Makoto didn't catch a cold. But the day before yesterday when it was cold, he had prepared clothes, drinks, a bath, and food for her. Makoto lies in bed with a gentle expression, admitting that she ended up catching a cold anyway despite his careful preparations. Haruto stands with wide eyes, telling Makoto-san that's not something she needs to apologize for. Makoto lies under blankets, saying she couldn't do something so selfish in that situation, while Haruto sits nearby thinking that if she had worn his coat, it would have been different, and there she goes again. Haruto looks up with earnest eyes and a gentle expression, wishing that Makoto would just accept his kindness as it is, saying that would make him happy. Makoto looks up with wide, surprised eyes and a gentle blush, quietly asking really. Haruto responds with a warm smile, telling Makoto-san she doesn't have to worry about it, and to just rely on him, while Makoto listens with a touched expression, softly repeating really. Makoto looks with gentle, tearful eyes, feeling touched by his words. Haruto sits with a worried expression, saying he even ran out of cooling patches, but he's missing too many things to take care of her properly. Haruto stands by the window telling Makoto to stay put while he's gone, and don't open the door, even if someone comes. Makoto lies in bed with a fevered face, feeling like she's being treated like a kid as she responds weakly from under the covers. Makoto tosses restlessly in bed, her fever making her shift uncomfortably under the blankets as time passes on the clock. Her fevered eyes gaze upward as she murmurs him softly, sweat glistening on her flushed face while lost in her feverish state. Makoto lies in bed with wide eyes looking surprised, while Haruto sits nearby quietly reading a book. The scene shows Haruto focused on reading, then his hand resting gently near Makoto as she sleeps peacefully under the covers, while Makoto sits on the bed, saying she wants some water. Haruto looks surprised asking "Oh, woke up. What's wrong?" as he turns to see Makoto awake and asking for water. Haruto says got it. Wait a moment as he stands up. Haruto thinks wait. Hold on as he watches Makoto drink water, then hands her the glass saying here go. Makoto takes it and says thank you softly. Haruto realizes with shock that this is the first time Makoto-san has asked him for something so directly, his face showing surprise at this breakthrough moment between them. Makoto says well softly while Haruto asks no, nothing. Is there anything else needed? Makoto looks confused asking what as Haruto becomes flustered. Haruto mentions already made some porridge, while Makoto says a little hungry maybe, both sitting together quietly. Haruto suggests maybe a new cooling patch too, and also replace the cooling patch, while Makoto looks at him with gentle eyes thinking could it be that following advice about accepting kindness and really doing it for her. Makoto responds yes. Haruto asks have cough medicine. Do you want to take it? Makoto says can do that myself while Haruto eagerly offers tuck-in with a bright expression, showing his continued care and concern for her illness. Makoto calls out Akahara-kun softly with a gentle expression. Makoto gazes ahead with sparkling eyes saying thank you with a heartfelt voice, her face showing tender emotion and gratitude. Haruto looks surprised with wide eyes in the top panel. And maybe it's because she's weak from the cold, but Haruto smiles warmly saying welcome while thanking the Makoto-san, who kept saying this is the last time, has finally stopped that. Makoto sits wrapped in blankets, holding a cup with a gentle expression, as she admits it's a relief to see that she is genuinely accepting kindness now. Haruto sits nearby with a bright smile, his face glowing with happiness as he says he's so happy, clearly overjoyed that Makoto has finally opened her heart to receiving his care. Makoto sits with her cup, saying she feels like getting much better, while Haruto checks something, mentioning that her fever is back down and asking about her back. Suddenly both freeze in complete shock and panic, their faces filled with embarrassment as an unexpected and startling moment catches them completely off guard. Makoto lies with flushed cheeks and flowing hair, resting peacefully. Haruto covers his face in panic, frantically saying sorry while asking why not wearing anything about, his voice filled with embarrassment as the awkward moment unfolds between them. Makoto sits calmly on the bathroom floor with a gentle smile, saying she's the one who should be sorry for spilling it. Haruto panics with his face covered, frantically apologizing and insisting they clean the floor later. Change clothes first since the cold might get worse. Makoto sits with tears forming in her eyes, asking why bringing that up now with an emotional expression. She looks up with a gentle but vulnerable face, mentioning she asked this before but Akahara-kun, wondering why so kind to her as the weight of his continuous kindness overwhelms her heart. Makoto asks why looking away with a curious expression. Haruto's mind races thinking could it be she doesn't realize her underwear is see-through, his face red with embarrassment. He nervously tells her to look straight in the eyes and say it, explaining that's because related, while his thoughts scream because can see Makoto-san's underwear. Haruto's mind spirals in confusion, as he thinks this seems like a serious conversation, but can't focus at all. Makoto sits close, saying if he's so kind to her, it's making her something. Haruto looks away nervously. Makoto covers her face, feeling like she might misunderstand, while Haruto says before they start a normal conversation, there's something to tell her. Makoto looks shocked with wide eyes as Haruto tells her that her clothes have been see-through this whole time, his hand raised nervously while looking away embarrassed. Makoto sits frozen in complete shock, realizing the embarrassing situation she's been in. Haruto thinks she wants to cover up with a blanket, but he'll feel bad about it getting wet. He tells her to change clothes first, saying that's okay, and he'll step out of the room for now. Makoto sits in shock, calling him calm. In the bottom panel, Haruto waits outside in the hallway while she changes. Haruto thinks he might be happier about seeing the flustered Makoto-san than her in underwear maybe. He reflects she was so cute and heartwarming that he couldn't help it. He notes Makoto-san has surprisingly careless moments, and it makes him worried sometimes. Haruto hears a voice saying, "Haruto, I came to visit," and wonders who there's a guest, who could it be? His face shows shock as he recognizes this voice. Haruto panics thinking this is bad. Keiho has a spare key because they're childhood friends. Keiho smiles brightly saying she came to check on him. Haruto worries if she comes in like this. Haruto panics thinking if she finds out he's living with Makoto-san, she might get the wrong idea. Both Keiho and Makoto appear in his worried imagination, as he stands frozen with his hands up nervously. Keiho explains they only had class in the morning, so here she is. She brought lots of stuff for him, ice cream and some packs of porridge for his recovery. Keiho smiles brightly while holding the items she brought to help him feel better. Keiho says not answering, and guesses she'll use the spare key, while Haruto sweats nervously at the door. Haruto panics, thinking in this situation, they'll definitely run into each other. Makoto-san is in the room at the back, while at the door is Keiho. Haruto worries if it gets out that he's living with Makoto-san, they might misunderstand and think they're lovers or in some indecent relationship. He panics, thinking he has no choice but to have Makoto-san hide, grabbing his head in distress. Haruto bursts through the door, calling Makoto-san about an emergency, completely forgetting she was changing clothes. Makoto sat calmly in her undergarments as Haruto froze in shock, his face turning red while desperately covering his eyes. He frantically apologized, saying sorry, and that he forgot she were changing, while she remained composed despite the awkward situation. Haruto panicked, realizing Keiho was seriously at his house, asking Sasaki-san with shock. Keiho called out "Hey Haruto" cheerfully from outside, while Haruto desperately wondered what should he do in this crisis. Makoto appeared, asking could he be sleeping, saying she was going out without permission, while Haruto frantically whispered that she was coming in and panicked about what should he do. Haruto said they would hide because they didn't want them to know they were living together, telling Makoto to hide in her room. Makoto quietly said okay, while Haruto apologized that he should be the one apologizing. Haruto told Keiho that since she wasn't feeling well, he would make sure she leaves soon, while Makoto whispered please take care of the rest. Makoto whispered pardon the intrusion, while Haruto confidently said got it. Haruto greeted Keiho cheerfully in the kitchen, telling her to come in without permission, and apologizing for it. Keiho noticed something, saying Haru looked totally fine, while Haruto thought maybe she collapsed from a fever and couldn't reply, nervously laughing and saying not that. Haruto said alright, let's make rice porridge while coming in. Keiho offered to also clean up Haru's room on his behalf while at it, saying please go ahead. The messy room was shown with scattered items everywhere. Haruto nervously said he cleaned regularly, while Keiho looked surprised, asking what, it's so clean. Haruto said the room next to mine is already Makoto-san's room, and didn't want to let her in. Keiho said the room hasn't changed since last time she came, noting that the last time was half a year ago. Haruto remembered the last time Keiho came to this house was the day he confessed to Keiho. Keiho said that's right. Haruto remembered Keiho rejected me at this house, thinking can't see Haruto that way. Keiho said mom told me to bring it for him, adding brought a lot of stuff thanks. Haruto noticed the plastic bag, while Keiho smiled at him. Haruto asked what in shock. Keiho asks if Haruto looks totally fine after all, wondering if he did skip class on purpose. Haruto worries for nothing, thinking if Keiho sees that he's fine, she'll leave right away, explaining he skipped class just to rest a bit and wasn't feeling great, knowing he wouldn't be able to hide it. He apologizes for making Keiho come all this way, saying as she can see, he's totally fine. Haruto tells Keiho she's probably busy, so feel free to head back, thinking he feels bad about locking up Makoto-san when she's not feeling well. She mentions it's been a while since she last came over, and he could be a little more welcoming. Keiho looks at him with gentle eyes, then says she's really happy he came and appreciates the stuff brought, but there's something she needs to do. Keiho asks Haruto if he's still mad that she turned him down. Haruto responds about what, looking confused. Keiho explains that was her choice, asking why would she be mad, whether he accepted, rejected, or decided to take a chance. Haruto says no, he's not mad at all. Keiho asks so he's not trying to kick her out because he's mad at her, while Haruto responds of course not. Keiho cheerfully says to at least let her eat the ice cream she bought before she leaves. She explains that was supposed to be her get-well gift, saying she got the limited edition, kind of pricey one, and wants to eat it too. He's glad. Haruto thinks he doesn't want to see Keiho with a sad face. After all, Keiho notices Haruto looks good too, and says she already took a bite, so they can't swap. She then leans in close to Haruto, cheerfully asking for just a bite, please, while holding her ice cream toward him with a bright smile. Haruto says tasty after trying the ice cream. His face turns bright red as he realizes the indirect kiss situation. Keiho notices his reaction, saying whoa Haruto, his face is bright red, then asks if nothing's wrong, and if he's not really sick are he. Keiho realizes, but he's not sick, and comments that he really is such a person. Haruto stammers, saying he's really no good at this kind of thing, admitting he's not good with situations like this while looking flustered and embarrassed. Keiho mentions by that quiet, timid, and soft Yuki. Even Yuki got mad about it once. She recalls after turning down Haruto's confession, and things got awkward after, saying it was a while ago. Keiho explains because she acted in a way that could have misled him, and that ended up hurting him. That's what Yuki said. Keiho says she's been with Haruto since grade school, and just took that for granted. She recalls Yuki helped her, and Keiho talk again after the confession, mentioning that really happened. Haruto thinks he never thought anything of it. Eating in each other's rooms, walking home together, hanging together. Keiho then says, but it was different for him, wasn't it, Haruto? Haruto stands defensively with flustered expression, frantically denying any inappropriate intentions, as he declares never pushed her down, and doesn't plan to either. His face shows clear embarrassment and shock at the accusation, hands gesturing as he tries to explain himself while sweat beads form on his forehead from the uncomfortable confrontation about his behavior with someone. Keiho questions if that's really true, while stirring something in a bowl. Haruto looks confused, asking what that's supposed to mean. Keiho leans closer with a gentle smile, quoting that love begins with the contact of souls and ends with the contact of mucous membranes, asking if Haruto has heard that saying before. Keiho explains it's a French proverb, apparently, describing how a man and women get to know each other, connect emotionally, and become lovers. She continues explaining that then they kiss. Haruno looks shocked and flustered at her blunt explanation. The scene shows Haruno's panicked reaction as Keiho calmly delivers this frank discussion about relationships, with Haruno appearing overwhelmed by her directness about intimate matters. Keiho concludes that's where love ends while leaning close to Haruto. She laughs softly, then asks if Haruto just imagined having sleep with her. Haruto panics and denies it, saying he wasn't doing that, while Keiho teases him, asking what he's doing then. The scene shows Haruto's flustered reaction, as Keiho playfully confronts him about his thoughts during their intimate conversation. Keiho asks what that's supposed to mean, then directly states that Haruto likes her, right? Haruto looks confused and flustered at her direct question. Keiho continues saying, so that means, Haruto panics, asking what the heck Keiho is saying and what's wrong with her. Keiho calmly explains that besides being a healthy high school boy, doesn't Haruto want to kiss Keiho, though she didn't confess with that meaning in mind. She continues that it's not like she's saying Haruto had lewd intentions, but love just means touching the other person and satisfying sexual desires, adding there's nothing beyond that. Keiho admits she doesn't really understand love, and can't even imagine kissing or having sleep with Haruto. Haruto looks confused, saying he doesn't understand what Keiho is trying to say. Haruto expresses he wants more than that, while Keiho asks why can't they just stay good friends. The conversation shows their different perspectives on their relationship, with Haruto wanting something deeper, while Keiho prefers maintaining their friendship. Haruto explains he wanted to become someone special to Keiho, and wanted to have a different kind of relationship with her. Keiho reflects that just by talking like this, she ends up hurting Haruto, and guesses she shouldn't have come to this room after all. Haruto protests that's not true, asking if it's just that Keiho can't go out with him, and has come to hate him. Keiho responds no, that's not it at all, explaining she still wants to be close friends with Haruto, and come to this room to play games with him. She adds she wants to hang out and eat meals together, showing her desire to maintain their friendship despite rejecting his romantic feelings. Keiho admits even though she can't be Haruto's girlfriend, she calls herself a bad girl. Haruto thinks Keiho isn't bad at all. Keiho continues saying that's why she's a bad girl. But that's not the only reason she acts this way, explaining she knows she's a bad person for that. Keiho looks surprised while both appear startled by something. Haruto then says right now as they both seem to realize or notice something happening at that moment, creating a tense atmosphere between them. A voice came from the back room. Haruto froze. Keiho stopped talking, turning her head toward the sound. Makoto's eyes narrowed slightly, lips curling into a knowing smile. The air grew tense while she howling from them. Keiho's head snapped toward the sound from the next room, eyes widening in realization. Haruto stiffened completely, panic flashing across his face. Behind the door, Makoto remained hidden, her sneeze nearly exposing her presence. The air grew thick with tension as Haruto desperately tried to hide the truth from Keiho. Keiho's eyes sparkled with realization, staring at the door. Haruto froze in panic, blocking her way. She suspected a human girl was hiding inside, not a pet. He desperately refused, face burning red. The secret teetered on the edge of exposure. Keiho shrugged off the strange noise, convincing herself it was just imagination. She praised her own acting skills while Haruto played along, suggesting it might have been the wind. When questioned about keeping pets, he firmly denied raising anything. The conversation shifted to a main transformer room, with Keiho recalling she used it before studying abroad. Haruto internally celebrated dodging the crisis, though he remembered a book still borrowed from a main-san remained in that very room. Keiho suddenly charged forward as Haruto shouted in panic. She cheerfully announced her intrusion while scanning the room. Haruto blurted out that Makoto wasn't present, his voice cracking with nervousness. Keiho's eyes darted around, clearly suspecting someone was hiding. A mischievous smile formed as she silently praised the clever concealment. Keiho's eyes narrowed with suspicion as she spotted something unusual. Haruto stammered nervously, quickly suggesting he might have left a game console in the room. Keiho saw right through the weak excuse, pointing out the earlier sneeze had clearly come from a girl. She laughed at the ridiculous claim, noting no game console could possibly be that large. The failed cover-up only deepened her amusement. Haruto stammered out denials, insisting there was no girl present. Keiho's eyes narrowed, immediately sensing he was hiding something important. She pressed him further, demanding to know why he couldn't tell her the truth. Her playful tone turned serious as she accused him of doing something bad, her suspicions growing stronger with each weak denial. A girl was there. The simple accusation shattered Haruto's denials, exposing the truth in 3 undeniable words. Keiho gasped. The girl before her was none other than Makoto Rei, the school's idolized goddess. The revelation left both frozen in stunned silence. Keiho confronted Makoto sharply, demanding answers. What were her intentions with Haruto? Why was she in underwear? What was this skip school plan about? The questions came rapid fire, each more accusing than the last. Keiho noted Makoto's beauty and figure, recalling Haruto's confession could have been for anyone. Haruto insisted he was just helping with her cold. Keiho fired back, why the underwear then? The misunderstanding deepened. Haruto called it an accident. Makoto flushed, asking if she looked that bad. Keiho accused him of perverted eyes, then demanded why Makoto was even there before raising something more urgent. Keiho's shocking accusation cut through the room. Did Haruto bring Makoto here for sex? Haruto recoiled, insisting it was all a misunderstanding, that he'd done nothing shady. Yet Keiho kept pressing, noting how strangely he was acting, how unlike himself he seemed. The situation spiraled further from reality, with each desperate denial. Makoto's voice cut sharply through the tension, defending Haruto. She insisted nothing was wrong, it was all her own fault. Her words carried quiet conviction, shifting the atmosphere instantly. Makoto stepped forward, her voice firm as she claimed full responsibility. She asked to stay, chose to hide from Keiho, faced winter unprepared, and accidentally soaked her clothes. Despite Haruto's plea for secrecy to avoid misunderstandings, she openly acknowledged his kindness since her arrival. Each admission stripped away the accusations, replacing them with raw honesty. Makoto's voice rang clear. Haruto never brought her for sex. She described his genuine kindness and her happiness here, dismissing the accusation completely. With a quick apology for interrupting, she vouched for his trustworthiness, certain he'd never act inappropriately. The words carried quiet conviction, dissolving tension with sincerity. Keiho's eyes widened in disbelief. Living under the same roof with a female classmate? Haruto confirmed it simply. Makoto was now a resident of this house. The revelation hung starkly in the air. Keiho's voice wavered. Why keep this from her? A childhood friend like family? The truth settled heavily. They'd agreed to live together. She recalled Haruto's weak game console cover-up, and Makoto's own wishes in this arrangement. A quiet realization struck things had progressed further than she ever imagined. Haruto's voice grew quiet, but firm. Things had already changed between him and Keiho. He stumbled over explanations, insisting his secrecy wasn't from dislike, just uncertainty. The unspoken truth lingered. Keiho simply didn't need to know. Makoto's quiet question hung in the air. Haruto hadn't told Keiho for a reason. Keiho froze mid-step, confusion flashing across her face as she demanded clarification. The unspoken implication thickened the tension between them. Keiho's mind reeled at the sudden development, her confusion mounting. The situation felt surreal. Those two were somehow terrifying together. A nervous laugh escaped as the bizarre reality settled in. Haruto turns his head with a tense breath, sweat slowly tracing his cheek as the heavy mood shifts. Keiho reacts with a small startled sound, completely caught off guard as he faces her directly and questions why she is so desperate now. His hand lifts instinctively as the bottled frustration spills out, and he follows it immediately by confronting her honestly, reminding her that she rejected him before, eyes wide and voice slightly shaking, saying that it does not matter who he likes anymore now. Keiho stiffens with deeply flushed cheeks, hands tightly clenched at her chest as she pushes back emotionally, then blurting that they are close childhood friends and pleading desperately to stay like this forever without ever changing. Haruto faces her head-on, shoulders visibly tense, cutting through the emotion by firmly stating that nothing truly stays the same forever. The distance between them sharply deepens as his words slowly sink in, the fragile past cracking apart under pressure. The scene tightens painfully when Haruto lowers his gaze, voice unusually heavy, admitting that the moment he fell for Keiho was the moment everything already completely changed. The painful truth lands that they could no longer be just close childhood friends anymore. Keiho looks visibly shaken, cheeks flushed and eyes trembling slightly as she admits that of course she wanted them to stay close childhood friends forever together. Haruto lifts his head with a soft, painful smile, eyes gentle yet fully resolved, carrying the quiet acceptance that forever like before was simply never possible anymore. Sadness and resolve quietly mix on his face, apologizing sincerely for falling in love while keeping his voice calm and surprisingly steady. Keiho looks up at him with shaken eyes, her usual brightness slowly faltering as she quietly listens. He adds that Keiho will someday find someone she truly loves, maybe someone she already secretly has, letting the painful truth settle heavily between them. Haruto continues softly, explaining that as they gradually grow into adults they will meet people they like more, people who become far more important than what they share now, his expression soft but completely certain. Sasaki Keiho turns her head slightly, silently watching Haruto walk ahead, her eyes soft as understanding slowly settles in, and she finally accepts it. She faces forward quietly, shoulders slowly relaxing, realizing that feelings naturally change as time steadily moves on. A quiet breath follows as she admits to herself that Haruto might someday fall for someone other than her instead, the painful thought stinging deeply but remaining painfully clear. Light softly drifts around her as she lifts her chin slightly, letting the difficult truth fully sink in without running away from it. Her gaze lowers gently in the end, lashes trembling softly just once, fully understanding everything and choosing to quietly accept the distance forming between them now. Haruto stiffens with a startled look as a small sound suddenly escapes him, watching Sasaki Keiho bow lightly and softly say she will go home now, apologizing sincerely for bothering him for so long already. She lifts her head with a gentle smile and turns toward Makoto Rei, warmly telling her to take care even though she is not feeling well, hoping she gets better soon as kindness fills her expression naturally. Makoto listens quietly, still seated silently, while Keiho straightens herself and steps back toward the nearby door. Keiho pauses briefly at the doorway, looking back once more as she apologizes again for intruding earlier, then cheerfully adds that they will see each other at school tomorrow. Haruto panics internally for a second, then quickly forces a smile and answers that he will meet her soon, waving awkwardly back, leaving behind a soft lingering tension as the door quietly closes and the room falls silent again afterward. Haruto realizing slowly that Sasaki Keiho really had been hiding something important from him this whole time, wondering uneasily if she had been thinking that way all along silently, as silence hangs unusually heavy. The thought suddenly snaps and urgency instantly hits, remembering quickly that he needs to properly look after Makoto and realizing her clothes are still not on, panic immediately rushing through his entire body. Makoto sways unsteadily, weakly wobbling as her remaining strength finally gives out, and Haruto moves incredibly fast to catch her before she suddenly falls. He supports her closely, apologizing softly to Makoto for putting everything off earlier, while desperately trying to steady her body. Makoto clings lightly onto him, cheeks warmly flushed, admitting shyly she just felt relieved and accidentally let her guard down completely. Makoto looks emotionally shaken, eyes glossy as she admits she was genuinely really happy that Haruto stood up for her, far more than she honestly expected, and wonders nervously if saying something like that was unnecessary before apologizing again with a small, honest expression. Haruto stares silently at her, completely stunned, then blurts out awkwardly that he never thought she would actually say something like that, thanking her back in a rush while looking clearly flustered himself. The heavy mood finally breaks as both of them slowly relax at once, letting out the tension together and sharing a soft, relieved smile. Makoto blinking quietly while Haruto grins like the unbearable pressure finally lifted away. The calm only lasts a second before Haruto suddenly panics again, realizing the dangerous situation and waving his hands frantically, saying now is definitely not the time for that, and quickly pointing it out nervously. Mikoto freezes instantly, then jolts suddenly as she finally understands, gasping softly and reacting far too late. Fingers nervously curled near her lips as she softly calls Haruto gently by name, watching him react with a small confused look as he wonders what exactly she means now. Gathering courage slowly, Mikoto admits that what was said to Sasaki Keiho earlier has been lingering heavily on her mind. Acknowledging nervously it sounds strange while her eyes waver slightly with embarrassment. She leans in slightly closer, breath shallow and uneven, then carefully asks if Haruto could really do something important for her, her gaze steady but incredibly shy. The quiet request lands softly yet boldly as she shyly asks for help wiping her body gently. Mikoto looks at Haruto with flushed cheeks and trembling eyes, quietly asking if that kind of thing is not okay, her voice clearly unsure as she searches his face. He stares back at her, overwhelmed, barely able to process what she just said, the words that kind of thing echoing too loudly in his head. Mikoto watches his reaction closely, sweat at her temple, then adds that staying calm might not be possible for her either, her honesty making the distance between them feel dangerously small. Haruto stiffens as understanding finally hits, eyes wide and face burning, while he quietly acknowledges the meaning, the words wiping her body repeating in his head as his gaze betrays his shock. Mikoto meets that look with flushed cheeks and steady eyes. Mikoto suddenly panics and pulls back, flustered as she explains that she usually wipes herself and only wanted help with her back, clutching herself while admitting embarrassment and sweating a lot. Haruto jerks his head away at once, apologizing fast and admitting he ended up looking without thinking, his face burning as he overreacts and tries to recover. Mikoto steadies her breath and continues, explaining she cannot reach her back on her own. Cheeks still red but voice honest as she turns slightly to show the problem. Haruto freezes for a second, then straightens up and nods hard, saying he understands, the moment shifting from chaos to awkward cooperation. Mikoto stands with her back turned, bare shoulders tense as she asks if Haruto is really sure about this, and warns him not to just say got it so easily, her posture stiff with nervous trust. Inside Haruto's head, panic explodes, sweat pouring as his thoughts spiral about what to do. Whether to ask directly, whether touching is right, whether taking something off or leaving it on is the right move, his mind completely overwhelmed. He stares at her back, frozen, overthinking every second while the pressure keeps building. Then, snapping out of it, Haruto blurts a decision and moves quickly, saying he will go get a towel for now. Mikoto lets out a small sound as the warm towel touches her skin, shoulders easing while she turns her head slightly, surprised by the gentle care. Haruto smiles awkwardly and explains that warmth cleans better and should feel nice too, trying hard to sound calm while his face stays flushed. Haruto suddenly stiffens and pauses, asking for a moment as he notices the chill in the room, then quickly pulls a blanket over her and tells her not to worry about sweating and to stay under it. Mikoto watches him for a second, then quietly offers thanks, her expression softening as trust settles in. The tension fades into something calmer as he fusses over her comfort, both of them sitting close in the quiet room. Mikoto squirms under the blanket, cheeks burning as she admits she still cannot help feeling embarrassed, then quietly asks him to please continue. Haruto panics behind her, flailing internally while trying to stay composed, then freezes when he realizes the clasp has already come loose. Mikoto reacts at once, surprised but relieved, thanking him for unhooking it as her back finally relaxes a little. Haruto's eyes widen in shock, and he immediately backs away, stumbling over an excuse and asking to be excused, clearly overwhelmed. Mikoto lets out a soft, startled sound as the towel touches her back again. Mikoto stands still with flushed cheeks and lowered eyes, gripping the towel at her chest while letting Haruto stand behind her, her back exposed only in posture, not in focus. His thoughts spiral fast, wondering if touching her back like this is really okay. Noticing how small and pale her back looks, the responsibility suddenly heavy. Mikoto stays quiet but steady, trusting him enough not to turn around, her shoulders tense yet unmoving. Mikoto hesitates with flushed eyes, clearly embarrassed, while Haruto panics in silence and thinks staying quiet is awkward, forcing himself to speak because Mikoto is relying on him and his mind must not wander. Mikoto turns and fixes him with a sharp look, calling out why of all things he would choose that topic. Haruto stiffens as Makoto calmly brings up the erotic book that fell out of the closet, the words landing hard and freezing him on the spot. He blurts that silence is bad and something needs to be said, then quickly asks her to forget what happened earlier, laughing it off and thinking it is a good thing Sasaki Keiho did not see it. Mikoto calmly explains that many girls in that book looked like Sasaki Keiho, adding that detail without raising her voice, while Haruto reacts in shock, eyes wide as he wonders if that is really true. Mikoto watches him closely and states that he really does like Sasaki Keiho, her expression soft yet sharp at the same time. Haruto falters, the smile fading as silence stretches, his reaction saying more than words. Mikoto lowers her gaze, the pause heavy and quiet. Haruto scrambles to explain that he did not even buy those things himself, admitting a friend said he would give something he would probably like and just lend it over, the memory flashing back to that moment. Mikoto casually reveals that everyone around had already guessed who Haruto liked, making him jolt in shock as the truth lands harder than expected. The explanation only makes Haruto sink deeper into embarrassment, shoulders slumping as he admits feeling completely exposed. Mikoto listens quietly, then turns back with softened eyes and a gentle smile, watching him from over her shoulder. Mikoto leans in close with a gentle smile, eyes bright as she tells Haruto that this only proves he is someone who cannot tell lies, saying his honesty shows through even when he tries to hide it. Haruto stiffens, breath catching as her words land softly but deep, his face flushed while he listens. Mikoto's expression turns calm and sincere, gaze steady as she adds that being unable to lie must mean he is a good person. Stiffens as Mikoto leans close, his eyes wide as he wonders if that is really so, his breath shallow with surprise. Mikoto looks up at him, cheeks warm, holding her hand near her chest as she calmly says that as mentioned before, she trusts that Haruto would not do anything weird. Haruto freezes as Mikoto turns back with flushed cheeks and quietly asks if the front could be wiped too, her hands held close as his eyes widen in shock. The air shifts dark and loud in his head, tension crashing as she looks away, clearly nervous but honest. Haruto panics and blurts out that this and that are different, flustered and sweating as the moment spirals. She quickly explains that the thought was simple, that having someone wipe her body felt surprisingly nice, and that was all she had been thinking. Mikoto clenches her fists near her chest, face burning red as her eyes shake with emotion, nerves spilling out while she tries to stay composed. Mikoto quickly turns away, saying that after all that embarrassment it would be better to just forget it, hoping the moment fades. Haruto sits beside her on the floor, rubbing the back of his neck and admitting that was true, his voice awkward but honest. She hesitates, starting to object, but the words stop halfway as her eyes soften and her breathing steadies. Haruto freezes with wide eyes, hand lifted to his chest as heat rushes to his face, admitting that it was embarrassing but not something he was against, his voice cracking in surprise as confusion slips out. Mikoto turns slightly, fingers brushing her skirt as she gathers courage, the night air thick with tension, then calmly reveals that she does not like guys, but if it is Haruto, she does not mind. Her words land soft but heavy, confidence mixing with vulnerability. Haruto panics as Mikoto stands too close, sweat dripping while his thoughts spiral, rushing out a shaky thank you, struggling to explain how to put the feeling into words. The contrast hits hard when he remembers how not long ago she used to snarl at him, and now she is opening up like that, soft and real. His chest pounds as he realizes it feels a little bit like becoming someone special to Mikoto Ray. Not just a little but actually a lot, and the idea makes him insanely happy. Mikoto relaxes and lets a soft smile bloom, cheeks warm and eyes closed, the tension finally easing as her hand rests lightly on her chest. Haruto freezes at the sight, staring hard as his heart trips. His thoughts spiral as he admits that such a gentle smile hits different, quiet but overwhelming. Thinking that seeing Mikoto smile like that feels like the first time ever, gentle, and way too powerful. She panics and asks if she was making a weird face, flustered and stiff, while she looks back calm and sweet. Haruto leans in close and blurts that it is really cute, voice shaking, while Mikoto stiffens with wide eyes and repeats cute under her breath, arms folding over her chest as heat floods her face. She admits that the only one who ever says that is Haruto, her gaze dropping before lifting again. The thought hits him hard that even though he is popular and people call her beautiful, his words landed different. Mikoto looks up with trembling resolve and admits that Haruto calling her cute felt so fresh and made her happy, cheeks flushed and eyes shining. Mikoto lowers her gaze with flushed cheeks while Haruto stands stiff across from her, sweat on his face. The space between them tightens as they look at each other, breath shallow, neither moving. Then both freeze at the same time, eyes wide, caught in a sudden stare that hits hard and loud without words. Mikoto turns slightly away, holding herself as she quietly says she was happy, her long hair falling soft as her expression shifts. Haruto looks at her and notices she looks just a little more childlike than usual, eyes wide and cheeks warm. The cool goddess he always saw feels different now, more than before, standing closer than ever without moving an inch. The next day, he looks at the thermometer and notes her fever has gone down a lot, reading 36.9. Haruto kneels by the futon and says she is fine on her own. But he still checks carefully and says it does not feel like she fully recovered and wonders if another day off today would be better. Mikoto smiles softly and gives thanks. Haruto exhales in relief, thinking thank goodness missing 2 days of school would be tough. Admitting she really does seem okay, yet the worry still sticks. Even while moving around the room, pointing out the towels on the shelf, and saying the food is over there, and she can eat this too, his chest stays tight, because despite everything looking fine, he is still worried. While saying he is off, waving as a small voice calls take care. A lot happened yesterday, and Haruto walks under the morning sky thinking about it. His steps slow when Sasaki Keiho comes into view, her name slipping through his thoughts as she smiles, and the moment hits harder because she looks so lonely. The school building looms ahead, the clock ticking, and his chest tightens as he wonders how he is supposed to act around Keiho now. The air turns stiff, the distance feels loud, and the feeling settles in deep that everything is suddenly so awkward, even though nothing was actually said. Haruto steps into the classroom and freezes when the thought hits that Keiho is already here, catching sight of Sasaki Keiho sitting easy with her phone among empty desks. She looks up and their eyes meet, the moment snapping tight as both flinch and sink. Keiho stiffens, surprise flashing across her face. Then she suddenly bolts from her seat, shoes scraping as she dashes past him. Haruto turns too late, breath slipping out as shock escapes his face. Haruto stands there flushed and sweating as the thought hits hard that she is obviously avoiding him, the silence dragging while his chest tightens. Back in the memory, while in the hallway and classroom, Sasaki Keiho keeps slipping past, bowing away, dodging his eyes, moving fast like yesterday never ended. Haruto stumbles through moments with trays in hand, hands raised too late, watching her retreat again and again. His knees finally hit the floor in his headspace, frustration spilling as the truth settles that it cannot be helped. His mind stuck thinking about what happened yesterday, trapped by the fact that he cannot even get the chance to talk to her. After school hits and the hallway empties, Haruto freezes when he spots Sasaki Keiho ahead, shock flashing as the moment feels too real. His head spirals with worry about Mikoto-san, knowing he needs to head straight home. Yet the pull to Keiho wins as he thinks at least letting her go home with him might fix something. His hand lifts, heart racing, calling out Keiho, but the timing fails. Keiho turns only for a second, her bag tight on her shoulder, then bolts forward, footsteps sharp as she runs away. Haruto stands there stunned, fingers still half raised. Haruto stops cold, body stiff as panic creeps in, the noise of footsteps fading while his thoughts crash. His face tightens, sweat sliding as the truth lands that this is bad, way too bad. The feeling mirrors after he confessed to Keiho, the same tight chest, the same spiraling fear. Just when things finally got back to how things used to be, everything snaps back to square one, his mind flipping upside down as memories replay. Sasaki Keiho stays in his head, still an important friend, and what he said to Keiho yesterday was not a lie, yet the weight hits harder. His face tightens while his thoughts spill fast. Knowing if he hurt her then he wants to apologize, wanting them to go back to being friends who can talk easily again. Haruto moves first, reaching for the door as a soft his name calls after him, followed by a hesitant, but how do we do this hanging in the air? His hand curls at his chest, breath shallow, the weight of regret obvious in his eyes. Yukino steps closer, glasses catching the light as her hand lifts slightly, noticing how he looks down and distant. Her eyes search his face and she calmly points it out, sensing something off, asking if something happened with Keiho. Haruto stiffens in front of her, shoulders tense, eyes wide as he reacts, stumbling through his thoughts, clearly shaken. The memory flashes back to when things fell out with Keiho, and it was Yukino who stepped in to patch things up, standing calm while everyone leaned close. Now she shines like a gentle angel, smiling so softly it feels unreal, making Haruto freeze in place, hands tight and eyes wide as panic and hope mix. His head spins with God Buddha, calling out Yuki-sama in pure desperation, while staring at her glow. The thought slips in that maybe she will help again, and the moment turns dramatic and sweet, his heart racing as he silently begs for help. Things turned awkward again between Haruto and his childhood friend Keiho, the distance heavy and obvious, leaving him standing there restless and tense. He thinks about how Keiho's best friend Yukino might be able to help. The thought hits hard that she is calm and reliable, but the only thing that truly worries him is how deeply Yukino really loves Keiho. Haruto walks stiffly when Yukino calls out, noticing he looks a little down and calmly asking if something happened with Keiho, her eyes steady behind her glasses. He freezes, shoulders tight, then turns flustered and starts explaining, stumbling into a rushed "you see actually" moment, sweat showing as feelings spill. The air snaps when he suddenly reacts, stopping him realizing something. Thoughts spiral as Haruto wonders what happened with Keiho. Then fear hits that talking to Yuki would mean telling her everything. Realizes living together with Makoto feels heavy. The memory flashes of Keiho smiling bright. Then the resolve crashes as he decides that even if it is Yuki, he cannot tell her that. In the hall, Yukino notices the sudden silence and asks what is wrong as he goes quiet, stepping closer with calm eyes. Haruto panics and waves it off, saying it is nothing and everything will be fine, really, his voice rushing while his face burns. Yukino tilts her head, soft but sharp, pointing out the kind of thing he says, watching him sink deeper. Tension thick as secrets press between them, and the drama hums low and dangerous. Yukino suddenly steps close and calls Haruto by name, the distance collapsing fast as his breath catches, watching him freeze with the "her" written all over his face. Yukino holds her ground and asks if there is time right now. Haruto forces a smile and waves his hands, thinking if it is just for a bit it should be fine. Even while his head spirals about he's still not fully recovered, and worrying about Makoto being home alone, but not being able to ignore Yukino when she looks this serious. Haruto lets out a confused as her hand snaps around his wrist in a firm grab, his body jerking closer with a jiga stuck in his throat. Yukino does not soften, dragging him along with a sharp drag that makes his feet stumble. Haruto freezes as his eyes widen, realizing that for the quiet Yuki to be this forceful feels completely unusual, her expression stiff and intense, making his thoughts spiral about what is going on. The hallway shifts as a door slides open with a sharp motion, revealing the science biology prep room, hanging above like a warning. Yukino steps inside first, head lowered but presence heavy. Yukino's eyes glare through her glasses, sweat tracing down as tension spikes and her thoughts sharpen, seeing through the excuses and sensing something wrong. She steps in fast and grabs Haruto, calling out how he keeps saying things like it is nothing, and it will be fine, while refusing to tell what is really going on, accusing him of hurting Keiho. Haruto recoils in shock when he blurts out in disbelief that the words came from Keiho, voice cracking as he panics, and she insists that is not it, his body stiff under her sudden force. Keiho had been quiet since the morning. Haruto asked her why, but she hesitated before speaking. She started saying, "Yesterday, when I went to Haruto's room," but stopped and went silent. Haruto listened, concerned, but she wouldn't say more. Yukino noticed this change in Keiho, her quiet expression showing worry. Haruto felt the tension rising as he thought about what Keiho might be hiding. Yukino looked at Haruto, seeing his frustration and confusion, then calmly mentioned after that she wouldn't tell her anything else. Haruto was really feeling it. The whole situation was getting out of hand. Keiho, his childhood friend, was upset because Makoto had been keeping quiet about her stay at his place. Keiho seemed confused and worried, asking why Makoto hadn't told her anything. Then Haruto thought about how Makoto must feel, probably hurt and confused too. He started to panic, thinking maybe Keiho thought he did something wrong. Makoto had been silent about it all, and now Haruto was stuck, unsure how to fix things. Then Yuki asked him, "Did he do something to Keiho?" He froze. What did she mean by that? Makoto stood there, eyes darting between Haruto and Keiho, feeling the pressure build. Yukino stiffens, eyes wide behind her glasses as her hands clutch together, the thought slipping out that this looks like forcing her to do something pervy. Her face burning as the misunderstanding forms. Haruto recoils with a sharp jolt, shock flooding his face as sweat breaks out, clearly caught off guard by how far that idea went. Makoto comes into focus, hair loose and skin warm, lifting her head with a strained breath as frustration flashes across her eyes. He pushes back hard, the feeling spilling out that this is an insane misunderstanding, her gaze sharp and unflinching, wondering if she is seriously that untrustworthy. Haruto jerks back at the start, hands lifting in panic as his face flushes, pushing out that he did not do anything and would never do something like that, his voice sharp with denial. Yukikoto Yukino stands firm, glasses catching the light as she presses on, calm but intense, stating there is no doubt something happened at his place yesterday, and adding that judging by how Sasaki Keiho has been acting, the situation cannot be ignored. The scene tightens as Yukino hesitates, eyes softening while tension drags her words down, admitting that may be true but she cannot talk about that, the distance between them suddenly heavy. Yuki lowers her gaze, shoulders drawn in, then looks up with hurt clear on her face, quietly letting it cut out that he cannot even talk to her. The silence after landing hard, and leaving the hallway thick with unresolved feelings. Haruto looks over with wide eyes and lets out a stiff sorry, his face tense and uneasy. Yuki tightens her fist at her side, the silence heavy as hesitation hangs in the air. The pressure snaps and he leans forward, hands raised as panic spills out, pushing that much he can say. He did not do anything like what is being thought, his voice shaking with urgency. He pointing out that even if he was not that type of guy, he should be more vigilant in this type of situation and protect Keiho better. Yukino steps in calmly, but sharp as she questions the situation itself. He picturing a dark, cramped room, classroom where people rarely come, alone together, small and helpless Yuki facing Haruto, the scene hitting her too hard. Yukino hugs her shoulders, eyes spiraling as imagination runs wild. Yukino stiffens and flails her arms, panic flashing as the thought bursts that he would not plan on doing something to her face burning as the fear spikes. Haruto exhales and speaks fast, trying to calm it down, saying he gets why she would think that since she is so serious, but adding that high school guys could totally lose control if it is with a cute girl, the warning slipping out more awkward than smooth. The thought cute hits Yukino hard as her eyes widen behind her glasses and her hands pulled tight to her chest. Haruto reacts instantly, shouting "Wait Yuki, watch out," as he lunges forward. Yukino slips at the same time, her body tipping ahead with no chance to stop. She crashes straight into Haruto, she breaking out as the impact steals their balance. Haruto stiffens and catches her on instinct, sweat flashing as his arms wrap around her. Yukino looks up with flushed cheeks and wide eyes as the thought hits that he thinks she is cute, the question shaking her as she stares straight at him. The realization settles, and he quietly accepts that it means yes, her expression softening as warmth spreads across her face. Haruto steps back in a rush, arms stiff and face burning as he blurts out that they are standing far too close. She quickly bows and thanks him, adding an apology for troubling him, hands pulled close as embarrassment lingers. Haruto stiffens as the thought hits that calling her cute now feels sudden, his mind spinning as he admits she is cute, but still feels unsure. He thinks about how she has many friends, how she talks easily with Yuki, how she discusses things like Sakura, and how impressive that is, wondering if that is why she never notices her own charm. The image of extraordinary girls around her flashes in his head, making him believe she might not realize her own cuteness because of them. Yukino brings both hands to her cheeks, eyes wide behind her glasses as a smile slips into her expression, heat rushing fast. Yukino leans forward with a flushed face and sharp eyes, stating that no matter what happened, he must immediately make peace with Keiho. Haruto scratches the back of his head, sweat on his face as he admits he really wants to do it, but thinks it will probably be difficult. Yukino steps closer, cheeks burning, and declares that she will not forgive him at all if he fails to make peace with Keiho. Haruto tightens his fists and demands to know why Yuki want him, and Keiho have to make peace so badly. Yuki blinks in surprise at her intensity, caught off guard by how serious she sounds. Yukino's cheeks flushed slightly, her gaze soft but serious as she spoke. She said Haruto liked Keiho, her voice holding a weight as if she was carrying a secret. Then she hesitated for a moment, before adding, even Keiho might like Haruto, but she just couldn't admit it. Haruto's gaze sharpened as he spoke, her voice steady but heavy. He asked himself if it was really impossible to be honest, unsure if that was true. His eyes flicked toward the side as he processed her own thoughts. He asked what Yukino, Keiho's friend, thought about all that. Then, the conversation shifted. Haruto was caught off guard as she directly addressed something he hadn't expected. She pointed out, with quiet certainty, that he liked Keiho, especially when she was with him. Keiho called out to Haruto, her voice soft yet playful. She said hearing Keiho call him, Haruto, like that, with such a gentle tone, was surprisingly overwhelming. She paused, thinking about it, before admitting that seeing Keiho treated so kindly made her wish for those kinds of memories too. Her expression softened as she spoke, hands clasped together as she looked down, lost in thought. Haruto looked uncertain, wondering if just seeing her was enough. His thoughts raced as Makoto softly responded, saying that simply seeing him made her happy. Her eyes sparkled as she smiled, her voice filled with a quiet, genuine warmth. She admitted that just being in his presence brought her happiness. Haruto stood still, feeling something shift between them as Makoto's words settled in the air. Haruto looks down, unsure if what stirs inside is truly real, wondering whether the feeling he senses can even be called his own. Yet even so, something quietly moves within him. As his thoughts settle, he realizes again that Yukino treasures Keiho in a way that feels special and sincere, not something shallow or careless. Yukino then lifts her face with a faint smile, cheeks warm behind her glasses, and gently urges that because of that, even if it is difficult for him, he should make peace with her, letting the words settle between them like a quiet confession that lingers longer than expected. Yuki lowers her head and apologizes for being selfish, thanking Haruto for sparing time and saying she will go home now, while Haruto stiffly responds with a shaky agreement and watches her turn away. The scene shifts outside under a wide sky as they walk side by side with bags on their shoulders. Haruto glances over in quiet confusion, reacting with a startled "why is this happening" feeling written on his face. Yukino lingers in thought, remembering how she initially refused the idea of going home together, believing it would be bad for Keiho. Despite the awkward start, they end up going home together because their destination happens to be the same. As time passes, and after a long while they end up heading home together, the path quiet as they talk only with each other about many things, about what their class is like, about rumors at school, about club activities, the conversation flowing naturally. Yukino listens closely, her steps light, her expression soft, and among all those topics, the moment they start talking about Sasaki Keiho, something clearly changes. Yukino looks genuinely happy, her smile bright and honest, eyes shining behind her glasses, and Haruto notices it without missing a beat. Watching her like that, the thought settles in his chest that she truly loves Keiho, not casually, not lightly, but in a way that feels deep and real. As the thought surfaces that wanting to monopolize Keiho like that would only be a disturbance, her intention is clear through the movement, because she hates seeing Keiho sad, and because she cannot monopolize Keiho, she chooses to help her make peace instead, holding her close without hesitation. The moment lingers, soft but powerful, and as Haruto keeps staring, the feeling settles in his chest that Yuki truly is amazing, the kind of amazing that changes the mood and leaves everyone shaken in the best way. He panics as she realizes how loud she is, reacting that he is saying everything with a loud voice, telling her to look, saying her grades are as good as Keiho's, that she became a model student, and that she also works hard in club activities. Yukino listens as Haruto suddenly remembers the past and blurts out that back then she even ranked third in the exams, his words coming out fast and unfiltered. Yukino flinches and admits yes, but adds that she is not some special person, her voice shrinking as she looks away. Haruto does not pull back and instead reaches out, patting her head with pure honesty, adding that she is humbled too and truly amazing, leaving Yukino frozen in place as the praise lands straight. Yuki calls his name with loud and asks what he is doing, the motion catching everyone off guard. She thought lands hard as he wonders if his action made her uncomfortable, the tension clear on his face. Yukino pulls back, glasses slightly crooked, cheeks flushed, holding her chest as she explains that when people treat others like small children it feels wrong. His hand freezes midair, eyes wide, breath caught as regret hits, and he realizes he acted impulsively without thinking. Yukino lowers her gaze behind fogged glasses, cheeks damp with sweat as she explains that it is not because she hates him, but the feeling still weighs heavy. Her hands clutch together as she speaks calmly yet firmly, saying that they should not treat physical contact with girls as something trivial, the words landing slow and serious. She looks up, voice steady, adding that Haruto already has a girl he likes, the truth slipping out without malice. The tension tightens as she pushes him away from this space, and tells him to do that with Keiho instead, certain that Keiho would be happy, leaving Haruto frozen as the message sinks in. The thought runs that Keiho could not be happy with a situation like this, and Makoto would also not feel comfortable if her head were touched, followed by a quiet plea not to connect everything to Keiho. The scene shifts as Haruto looks down, remembering Makoto's condition yesterday, his expression tightening as the memory plays back. He recalls that she was weak because of a fever, and that moment when she allowed him to gently stroke her head. Haruto lowers his head, sweat slipping down as a question forms about why this is happening, his thoughts spiraling. Yuki leans closer with concern, asking what is wrong and saying he looks spaced out, her bright eyes searching his face. The confusion spikes as Haruto grips his head, stunned by the realization of why Makoto keeps crossing his mind, the name hitting harder than expected. Haruto quickly shakes it off, denying that anything is wrong, his voice tight while his body betrays him. The moment snaps smaller as Yuki reacts, startled by the sudden shift. Haruto pauses on the street, eyes widening as sweat slips down, his steps slowing while his thoughts race. The worry hits hard as he admits that he has been thinking too much because he is too anxious. The idea that the relationship with Makoto could be found out flashing through his mind. Makoto, with a bright smile, waves her hand energetically, calling out Haruto's. She looks cheerful, saying she got bored of waiting and decided to head to the pharmacy on her own. She adds that her health is much better now, almost completely recovered. Haruto and Yuki stands there, eyes wide, his face frozen in surprise, watching her with a hint of confusion. Haruto stands frozen, confused, as Makoto calls out to him, asking why he's just standing there. She cheerfully invites him to join her for dinner, making it clear that she wants him to come along. Makoto, looking uncertain, watches the exchange, her eyes wide. She quickly asks, a little flustered, if the girl is Yuki. Then, the realization hits her as she processes what she said. Makoto's voice sharpens with a mix of disbelief and concern, wondering aloud if Haruto really plans to go home with Makoto and have dinner together. Haruto stands frozen, eyes wide in shock, as Yukino glares at him, accusing him of doing something inappropriate with Makoto. She demands to know if he and Makoto have been living together and whether they've done something improper. Haruto's face turns pale as he frantically denies it, shouting that it's all a misunderstanding. Haruto tries to explain, but his words come out rushed and panicked, unable to calm the storm Yukino has stirred up. Yukino's eyes are filled with hurt as she stares at Haruto, tears starting to well up. She asks him if he no longer cares about Keiho, accusing him of betraying her. Haruto stands in shock, his face a mix of disbelief and panic, his mind racing to explain himself. His hands tremble as he desperately tries to deny the accusation, shouting that it's all a misunderstanding. Haruto stands there, as Keiho looks at him with wide eyes, asking if he doesn't like her. Her gaze is intense, almost desperate. Keiho can't hold back anymore. She confesses that she likes being with him, her voice soft but clear. Yuki, her eyes filled with uncertainty and a glimmer of hope, looks at them. She says if Keiho isn't with him, maybe it could be her. Meanwhile, Yukino and Makoto, who watches quietly, whispers to herself. Her face is serious, a slight worry in her expression as the tension builds between them. Yuki, standing nervously, looks up at Haruto, her voice shaking as she asks, "Do you like Haruto?" Haruto, caught off guard, pauses for a moment, not sure how to respond. An unexpected and intense feeling hits Haruto as he turns, eyes wide, the thought cutting straight through him that Yuki has feelings for him. Yukino stands in front of him, clutching her bag, hands near her mouth, face red as she hesitates, thinking about that and wondering how to say it properly. Yukino suddenly covers her face, shaking as tears spill, her voice breaking as she blurts out what just happened, asking what that moment was with Haruto. Her emotions snap, fists clenched tight as she forces the words out, saying she does not like Haruto, adding she does not like him at all. Haruto reaches out in panic, calling Yukino's name, as his expression twists in shock. Haruto walks stiffly, face tense as the words spill out that he really hates himself, his hand lifting without strength while confusion hits hard. Somehow he feels that Yuki used to like him, or something like that. Then the feeling crashes again as he realizes she suddenly stopped liking him, or maybe even hated liking him. Makoto walks beside him in silence, her eyes soft and unsettled as she listens, clearly shaken by his honesty. Makoto stiffens as the words come out that Haruto is quite popular, his body jerking as he blurts it out, and immediately panics, realizing he was suddenly told that someone hates him. The shock makes him bend forward, sweat forming as confusion floods his face. Mikoto looks at him and calmly understands that in the end he said something without realizing it, his honest opinion slipping out unconsciously and even surprising himself. The realization deepens as it becomes clear that opinion surfaced without awareness and caused this mess. Haruto stares ahead, eyes trembling as he thinks that if she truly could not stand someone, she would never be able to endure being near that person. Doubt crushes him as the thought follows that something must be wrong with him. The silence growing heavy while Mikoto stands beside him, fully aware that a careless truth has already cut deep and cannot be taken back. Then another thought follows, questioning if Yuki truly liked him. Haruto looks down, eyes distant as the thought forms that this kind of thing never crossed his mind before. The memory shifts as he recalls how Yuki was always energetic about fixing his relationship with Sasaki Keiho, walking ahead with quiet determination while he follows behind in silence. Haruto freezes, eyes widening as he starts to see it clearly, realizing that if seen that way, he really did manage to attract that kind of attention. Words fail him. The realization sinks deeper as the idea surfaces that maybe Yuki even hoped for kindness or consideration from Haruto toward Keiho. Haruto stares ahead, eyes shaking as the thought hits that maybe his attitude was wrong. His chest tight as he notices that both of them look pretty gloomy. Sweat forms as another thought follows that this kind of situation never happened before, leaving him stuck wondering what should be done next. His gaze lowers, caught between doubt and panic, when Mikoto steps closer, eyes soft and serious, checking if he is okay because he looks very worried. The closeness makes the moment feel heavier, her concern clear in her expression, while Haruto stays frozen. Haruto turns with a stiff smile, sweat on his cheek as he says he is fine, trying to brush it off, while Mikoto tilts her head, eyes sharp with concern as she pauses him and tells him to wait a moment. Her eyes widen in quiet confusion, sensing something off, and Haruto suddenly backtracks, blurting that it is not like that, his voice cracking as the tension spikes. Haruto looks up, eyes lost, wondering what is going on inside Mikoto Rei's head. His thoughts spiral into what kind of plan should even exist now, the air feeling too tight to breathe. Thinking that this kind of awkward tension with someone makes him believe he might be wrong, Haruto jolts as a warm drink is suddenly pressed near his cheek, eyes wide in pure surprise, his breath catching as he turns. Mikoto sits close beside him, holding the cup with steady hands, watching his reaction with a soft, careful look. Mikoto turns calmly and explains that she remembered him from the shop and bought it just for him, holding the cup with quiet confidence. Haruto stiffens and calls out to Mikoto, surprised as he asks if that drink is really for him, his grip tightening on his bag. She points out that he once gave her a glass of warm soup, and the memory flows back as two cups sit between them, warmth rising gently. She asks if he remembers, recalling the first time she came to his place, and how her body was shaking back then. Her eyes soften as she admits that moment truly made her calm. Haruto freezes, cheeks flushed, caught off guard as the thought hits him, and then the question slips out as he wonders if she also wants to give that warmth back to him. Haruto smiles awkwardly with a small sound of surprise, holding the cup close as Mikoto looks at him gently, and admits that even if she cannot cook properly, she can at least warm a drink for him. Haruto panics and apologizes fast, explaining that he drank without thinking because Mikoto offered it, saying that is how it started. Mikoto pauses, then calmly says she will definitely make something properly next time, her words sincere and steady. The mood softens until Mikoto suddenly notices and asks if he just drank from the same glass she used, her eyes widening at the thought. The tension snaps as Haruto jumps up in a rush, shouting that he will buy a new one, leaving Mikoto staring after him in shock as the moment. Haruto rubs the back of his neck with an awkward smile, apologizing for suddenly acting that way. They walked side by side in silence, Haruto breaking it by saying he did not really do anything special, trying to downplay it. Mikoto stops and thanks him sincerely. Mikoto looks down, eyes soft but confused, wondering why things suddenly turned like this, her grip tightening around her cup. Mikoto looks at him with gentle eyes and admits that she is going through a difficult time herself and cannot even give proper advice, her honesty quiet and heavy. Haruto pauses in surprise, realizing that Mikoto genuinely cares about his situation, the thought hitting harder than expected. Haruto listens, unsettled, never imagining he would feel like this during a first real conversation. The weight grows as the image of Mikoto appears in his mind, as someone who suddenly became the center of attention for the entire school and was even called an ice goddess. They stand side by side, quietly drinking as the moment softens, Haruto thinking that he feels happy, genuinely happy, being with Makoto like this. Haruto suddenly blurts out that Makoto looks very good today, his face freezing the second the words leave his mouth, while Makoto tilts her head and calmly asks what kind of compliment that is. The warmth spreads as he admits that spending time with Makoto like this and seeing her treat him kindly makes him feel really good. And Makoto answers simply with a small yes, accepting it without hesitation. The silence snaps as Haruto stiffens in panic, realizing exactly what he just said, his body reacting before his mind can catch up. Haruto panics as the thought hits that what he said almost sounded like a confession, his head spinning while he wonders if saying he feels happy when she is kind to him crossed a line. Makoto looks straight at him and calmly asks if he feels happy when she treats him well, her gaze steady and serious. Haruto flails inside and quickly denies it, insisting that was not what he meant, his face burning as he struggles to explain. He laughs awkwardly and says that being treated normally like that is already enough, repeating that it is just normal and more than enough for him. Makoto listens quietly, eyes softening, then questions if that is really true, her voice gentle but heavy. The moment settles into silence as Haruto admits he is not used to being treated kindly by someone normally, the distance between them shrinking, the tension turning soft, intimate, and dangerously honest. Makoto holds the warm cup close, eyes trembling as she admits she does not have many friends or family, and that her world is almost empty. Her voice steady but fragile as she says she does not know how to get along with other people in a normal way. Her fingers tighten around the cup while her gaze drops, the honesty landing heavy in the quiet space. Haruto watches her profile, breath caught, realizing clearly that Makoto is struggling with something big inside her family. The kind of problem that forces someone to think too much and carry everything alone. Haruto freezes, muttering that normal interaction is the goal, clearly unsure while she echoes the word normal with curiosity. Makoto tilts her head and softly asks what kind of relationship exists between her and Haruto, her eyes wide as she tests the idea of a first step. She suddenly wonders what her own position is now, her thoughts drifting as she pictures Osanana and friend, trying to label herself. Haruto quickly explains that Sasaki Keiho and Haruto are friends, saying that kind of relationship already exists, his hands moving as he talks too fast. Makoto listens closely, then asks what that has to do with interacting normally, her voice honest and confused. Haruto breaks into a flustered smile and insists of course there is a connection, his energy jumping as the moment turns awkward sweet. Makoto presses a finger to her lips and calmly says that if Haruto shows the way, maybe she can do it too, pointing out that if they are friends there should be a normal way friends interact. Wondering if talking about people like adults and kids really has a standard way to interact. The mood snaps when she adds that they are not friends or family either, but Haruto blurts out that she is not his friend after all. She softly notes that being together like this feels different from being just friends. Makoto watches him and slowly realizes what he means, admitting she finally understands. Haruto crosses his arms and mutters that being classmates should count for something, clearly confused. Makoto tilts her head and calmly wonders Haruto is strange, saying both of them are fine, as they are yet admitting there is a clear difference between them. If there is something not quite fitting, if a relationship like this between her. As she speaks, memories hit hard and fast, Makoto and Haruto sharing the same room, eating together, doing housework together, Haruto realizing she even nursed him when he was sick and cleaned his back, the weight of it all sinking in. Haruto freezes as the words stack up, realizing this is more than normal, more than convenient, his face heating as Makoto states it plainly and softly. Haruto's wide eyes as the thought crashes in, wait, something about this is definitely not normal. Haruto stops in place, stunned, as confusion floods his face, and he wonders what all of this means and how it even happened. Makoto points at Haruto's back and questions what is wrong with the way they interact, wondering if this is how things normally are. The moment spirals fast as Haruto panics, thinking something strange and inappropriate has formed between them, his thoughts racing while he grips his drink and turns red. He blurts through frantic gestures that there was never any intention of having a relationship like a couple, not even a little, his voice shaking as he denies everything at once. Makoto freezes with wide eyes and flushed cheeks as the thought of being a couple crosses her mind, realizing that kind of relationship should be impossible. yet her breath catches. She clutches her cup and looks at Haruto, confused, asking what that expression means, while Haruto stiffens, face turning red, hands tightening as panic hits. He reacts fast, flustered by her stare, and his expression alone makes everything worse. Makoto Rei's expression is intense as she presses on, asking if their relationship could really be seen as anything close to a couple's. Haruto, clearly flustered, freezes, his mind racing. He mutters that their connection has not reached that level yet, at least not in the way she might be thinking. His face burns, and Makoto watches him with a mix of confusion and concern, her eyes flickering back and forth between his reaction and the tension that wraps around them. She panicked as he realized what was happening. She asked Haruto if this meant he was acting like a boyfriend toward her. Makoto looked at him, her expression full of surprise, and it seemed like she was reflecting on the same thought. She nervously apologized, unsure of the situation. She tried to gather herself, admitting she didn't understand the situation. She apologized again, embarrassed. Haruto reassured her, asking her not to worry. Makoto then admitted it was difficult for her to act normal after hearing Haruto's words, as if everything had become more complicated. Haruto stands there, trying to hold back his awkward smile, a little confused. Makoto stares at him, then asks if they seem like a couple. Haruto's face drops, panic rising. He's almost convinced he misread everything, his mind racing. He starts to blush, thinking it's all a big misunderstanding. Makoto crosses her arms, calmly looking at him. Haruto begins to realize how much closer he's getting to Makoto, far more than before. He's not sure how this happened, but the connection feels undeniable. Makoto looks at him, her expression soft but serious. Though he doesn't mind getting closer, but he's still not comfortable accepting kindness easily. Haruto stands there, wanting to help but unsure of how. As they walk, and he suddenly remembers something. Haruto, now flustered, quickly offers to make whatever Makoto wants to eat. His face lights up with realization as he starts to apologize. He asks if Makoto has been waiting for him to think about dinner. She glances at him with a slight smirk and tells him he's overthinking things. His face turns red, but he insists it's normal for her to choose something she likes. Makoto smiles softly, acknowledging his effort. Haruto, still embarrassed, wonders if he's made things awkward, but Makoto reassures him with her calm demeanor. Makoto, glancing at Haruto, casually mentions that she can ask for anything. She smiles softly, almost teasing, before adding that she'd probably just pick curry. Haruto, flustered, rushes to confirm that it's perfect, feeling the pressure of wanting to make everything just right. He stirs the pot with a satisfied grin, thinking the taste is just spot on. Haruto, holding a spoonful, asks Makoto if she wants to try it too. Makoto hesitates, surprised by the offer. She questions if it's really okay. Haruto, eager but nervous, insists, saying it's fine. Makoto, blushing slightly, wonders if she's allowed, then tries it. A soft escapes her as her eyes widen at the taste. Haruto watches her, feeling a strange tension, as if she doesn't even notice the small thing that's happening between them. Asking why Makoto doesn't just take the spoon herself and eat, clearly noticing how the situation might be a bit odd. Makoto gently takes a spoonful, her eyes closing slightly in enjoyment, letting out a soft sigh, almost as if she didn't realize something. Makoto finally reacts, her voice soft yet clear, saying how delicious it is. Makoto feels a little teased by the mild curry, and complains it feels like they're treating her like a child. But she's still enjoying it, despite the slight discomfort. Haruto raises an eyebrow, questioning if it's really okay to eat spicy curry when she has just recovered from being sick. Haruto, a little surprised, watches her with a worried expression, but can't help but chuckle as she insists she's fine. Haruto, amused, says she's being unfair, laughing at her reaction while stirring the pot. As the conversation shifts, Makoto casually asks if Haruto has any siblings, intrigued by his comment about his cousin, Amane. Haruto, a little embarrassed, explains that Amane is no longer around, but she was like an older sister to him, the moment feeling both sweet and intimate. Haruto's expression shifts as his mind starts to race. He suddenly realizes something important about Makoto, asking himself if she really doesn't have any siblings. The realization hits hard, and his thoughts spiral. He stands there, overwhelmed, with his hands on his head, his frustration palpable. Makoto, in contrast, looks at him calmly, as if to reassure him, saying there's no need to worry about her family. But Haruto is far from calm. His mind is already spinning as he wonders about Makoto's past and the deeper meaning behind her actions. His inner turmoil is clear, with a small, surprised, "Who am I to her anyway?" echoing in his head, unsure how he fits into her world. She adds that her only sibling is a younger sister, a year younger than her, but Makoto doesn't seem too keen on talking more about her family. Haruto, looking confused, wonders aloud about Makoto's family dynamic, asking if they're really siblings, especially since they share the same father but different mothers. Makoto, noticing his confusion, explains with a calm smile that they're half-siblings, sharing the same father but having different mothers. The conversation shifts, and Haruto begins to connect the dots, understanding now why Makoto has a different last name from his cousin Amane. Makoto's calm demeanor contrasts with his growing realization as he pieces everything together, asking himself how this affects everything he thought he knew. Haruto, looking thoughtful, considers Makoto's situation, asking if they should really consider themselves siblings despite the unusual connection. Makoto, standing by the kitchen counter, doesn't give him an immediate answer. Instead, she softly acknowledges the fact, agreeing that it's an odd situation, but that's how things are. As the moment settles, she takes a deep breath, revealing something that makes Haruto stop in his tracks. Despite only being half-siblings, Makoto admits she envies the bond that others seem to have, especially since her younger sister, who shares blood with her, holds so much animosity toward her. But the shift happens quickly, as he turns serious. Haruto, suddenly feeling a weight, notices Makoto's voice sounding unusually lonely. Haruto's face lights up with realization as he connects the dots, laughing a little at his own sudden understanding. He exclaims, in a burst of excitement, that this means Makoto is just a half-sister to him. His eyes widen with the implications, and a moment of clarity dawns on him. He excitedly exclaims that it means Makoto is technically a half-sibling, sharing the same bloodline but from a different branch. He's almost proud of figuring it out, laughing a little at his own discovery. Makoto, in a soft and almost teasing tone, asks why Haruto thinks she would be the younger sibling. She wonders, with a little irritation, why he assumes she couldn't be the older sister. She points out that he was born on September 9th, practically gloating over the fact. Makoto, standing next to him, tilts her head slightly and responds, revealing her birth date of January 11th. Haruto, still excited, realizes something else and connects the dots, smiling even wider as he continues his victory speech. But then Makoto, with a sudden and unexpected seriousness, whispers to herself, her voice almost too soft to hear, that if Haruto is just a half-brother, then she's stuck being the older sister. Her words carry a weight that leaves Haruto frozen for a moment, his smile faltering as he realizes the complexities he never considered. Makoto, looking a little embarrassed but determined, asks if she can call Haruto Onie-chan. There's a hint of hesitation in her voice, yet the request feels almost playful, and Haruto's expression shifts from surprise to a flustered smile. Haruto stumbles over his words, embarrassed by the sudden change in the atmosphere. Makoto softly says Haruto's name, her voice just above a whisper, making the moment feel intimate and delicate. Her words hang in the air as she hesitates, asking if she can call him Onie-chan. Haruto, still flustered, mutters under his breath, she asking, "Is it really like that?" His reaction is a mix of confusion and a flicker of excitement, unsure how to handle the sudden shift in their dynamic. Being called Oni-chan hits Haruto first, the sound shaking his heart hard as his face tightens and sweat slides down, the feeling way too real to ignore. Haruto lounges with an easy smile, thinking that Makoto-san is a little sister, completely and fully a little sister, her tone light but loaded as she enjoys the thought. Makoto turns, caught off guard, a quiet reaction slipping out, smiling sweetly, while saying that an answer might already be found. Makoto leans in with wide eyes, finger near her lips, asking what their real relationship is, whether they are truly siblings, a man and a woman, an older brother and younger sister, the question soft but sharp. Haruto tries to keep it light, saying it is about that, nodding as if the topic is simple while forcing a small smile. Haruto freezes, his vision narrowing as the weight hits, the silence stretching heavy. Makoto lets out a small surprised reaction, eyes trembling as she looks straight at him, waiting. Haruto turns serious, gaze steady, deciding to entrust Makoto-san to someone else. Flowers drift as Haruto leans in with an awkward smile, scratching his cheek while admitting he does not really understand what Makoto wants, deciding that the normal way is simply to interact normally with her. Makoto tilts her face up, eyes wide and cheeks warm, saying he wants Makoto to do what she wants, the words landing heavier than his gentle tone suggests. Their distance shrinks, her gaze locked on his as the idea of a bond settles in. One built on borrowing and lending, on obligations, on doing what is right rather than forcing roles. Haruto fills the top panel with a soft, earnest smile, eyes shining as he leans forward, and explains that this is simply his way, a normal way of thinking, choosing to act kindly toward one person, and admitting he enjoys doing it. Makoto stands with her hands clasped at her chest, head bowed while she quietly processes his words, thinking that if she does what she wants, Haruto would be happy. Her shoulders tense for a heartbeat before she looks up with resolve, agreeing that it is true and declaring that she will do this, that she will do it properly. Makoto gently asking what is wanted as light sparkles around her expression, then nodding with quiet resolve and saying she will remember it, her smile small but sincere. Haruto straightens up with sudden energy, declaring everything ready and saying it is time to eat. Haruto panics and waves his hands, immediately stopping her and insisting she will be the one to wash dishes. Haruto telling her to rest because her leg still hurts, his concerns spilling out fast. Makoto freezes, surprised, then accepts it as he urges her to sit properly. Their days with Makoto slowly are normal, shared routines and small moments pulling them closer without effort. The space between them fades as their relationship keeps deepening, growing warmer and more natural. Makoto stands close to Haruto, her expression calm as living together becomes a quiet fact of life. Haruto reflects that when Makoto first arrived, neither of them could imagine how things would change. The final moment lingers with tension, hinting that what comes next will shake everything once school finds out. After dinner and washing up, Haruto and Makoto return to their own rooms, each spending time quietly as planned. Haruto spends the night showering, reading books, and checking his smartphone, the hours passing naturally. The night is spent as their usual daily life, their everyday life, a new routine they share together. Makoto soaks in the bath, cheeks warm and eyes soft. For some reason, what should be normal feels comfortable, the calm settling in without effort. Morning light spreads over the school building as footsteps echo across the stairs, the day starting quietly. Haruto appears with an easy smile, holding out a bowl as small sparkles float around him. He calls out that Makoto's salad is ready. Makoto steps into the morning in soft pajamas, rubbing her sleepy eyes as she greets Haruto with a quiet good morning, his name slipping out naturally. Haruto freezes, flustered, realizing she did not only buy casual clothes yesterday, but even pajamas, the situation hitting him all at once. The feeling feels unreal, too real, as his heart races while he takes in how different she looks under the same roof. Living together with a girl under the same roof sinks in hard. The sensation overwhelming, shocking, and way too extraordinary for something that already feels like daily life. His thoughts spiral as he notices that even the jersey she wears feels more powerful on her than on him. The scene already feeling unreal because even a school goddess rarely looks this defenseless. The sweet aroma fills the room, drawing Makoto closer as she quietly notices how good it smells, her cheeks warming as she watches him move. Haruto smiles lightly as he mentions making French toast for breakfast. Haruto adds that he made it especially for Makoto and casually asks if she wants to eat, the moment hitting harder than expected. Makoto softly admits that she wants to eat, standing there with her hands close to her chest. Haruto hurriedly tells her to sit and wait a moment, flustered but gentle, pulling out a chair as the distance between them shrinks. Breakfast is placed neatly on the table, French toast steaming beside a glass of milk and a small bowl of salad, the moment marked with a quiet wish for a good meal. Makoto leans in and takes a bite, her eyes widening as she admits it tastes good, the softness and sweet flavor spreading across her face. She pauses, thinking, then notes how the texture is gentle and the sweetness just right, clearly delicious. Haruto watches nervously and asks if the taste suits her preference, his shoulders tense. Makoto answers with a simple yes, and his expression melts into relief. Her cheeks warm as she adds that it feels like being spoiled, the words heavy with quiet honesty. Makoto lowers her gaze, fingers clasped near her chest as she admits that Haruto seems to understand what she likes, the feeling landing softly but deep. Haruto reacts with surprise, a small sound slipping out as he freezes mid-movement, caught off guard by her sincerity. Silence stretches between them as they face each other across the table. Haruto laughs with relief and gratitude, saying he is just really happy. Mikoto calmly states that this might be the best breakfast she has ever had, even asking if it can be called simple, while quietly assuming she must be used to far more luxurious breakfasts in a mansion. His thoughts drift to rich families running huge companies, expecting elegant meals every morning. Mikoto listens, then softly agrees that her family does have a famous French chef, the kind everyone knows. She pauses, looks at the food again, and admits that the meal made feels better, warmer, and tastes more delicious. Haruto looks confused and asks why it turned out like this, while Mikoto calmly asks why it should not. His thoughts spiral, wondering how food can taste so good, questioning if it is because Mikoto enjoys it or because he somehow has talent to be a professional chef. He overthinks that maybe his feelings are reaching Mikoto and making his cooking taste better to her. His eyes shine as he admits wanting to give her even more delicious food. Haruto quickly asks if she wants more sweet food, then follows up by asking what kind of dessert she wants. The simple breakfast turning into a warm exchange where care, confusion, and affection mix naturally at the table. The moment shifts as Mikoto quietly says she is already full, her cheeks soft and satisfied. Mikoto thanks Haruto for the meal, cheeks still warm, then turns away saying she will change clothes and get ready. She walks off lightly, leaving Haruto watching as he mutters that his own clothes need changing too and preparation is necessary. The next update appears, stating the news comes from the Tomi group. The calm morning atmosphere cracking slightly as quiet daily life blends with something bigger moving in the background. The scene shifts as Haruto sits down, half distracted, wondering if checking the news while changing clothes is fine. A report catches his eye, talking about a sudden drop in performance caused by retail business trouble, making him pause and think that this sounds like a rumor. The news continues playing, stating that the president has promised to find a solution and take responsibility, while Tomi Sutra will remain in the position of chairman. The name of the Tomi family head comes up, hinting at Mikoto father and uncle standing at the center of it all. Haruto watches with a tense face, sensing that the person behind this decision is someone extremely strict, the same person who forced Mikoto out. Haruto tightens his grip, and thinks that Mikoto probably does not want to see that face again, the memory heavy and sharp. He lowers his gaze, decides to turn the TV off. Mikoto pauses by the door and softly says she will head to school first, calling Haruto name. Haruto responds easily, saying they will not go together, smiling as he adds that he will leave later. She hesitates, thinking that leaving together again could cause trouble if someone sees them, remembering how Sakurai noticed them yesterday. Mikoto freezes, surprised, as he explains that causing trouble for her is the last thing he wants. Her eyes widen at his words, a small sound slipping out. Mikoto turns back with a soft smile and says until they meet again, her eyes gentle and steady. Haruto watches her go, flustered but relieved, thinking there is no need to worry about being reported. Yet knowing this distance could still spark strange rumors, so caution matters. He reflects that Mikoto has changed and become kinder, the warmth in her expression proving it. A quiet image forms of them walking too close at school, drawing attention because she rarely interacts with others, making everything feel risky. The school building stands tall as Haruto clenches his fist and tells himself not to waste Mikoto-Rei's concern, deciding to head up calmly for now. He checks the time and notes there are about 20 minutes before first period starts, admitting he arrived earlier than planned even after saying that. He walks through the hallway with slow steps, thinking about waiting in the quiet and boring classroom until class begins. The classroom door slides open and Haruto freezes as sharp gazes crash into him, a loud sense of what bursts through the room, while bodies turn and tension spikes. Faces stare too hard, too focused, making his steps falter as confusion floods in. The air feels thick, whispers ripple, and his eyes widen as awareness hits hard, the room buzzing with curiosity and heat. Haruto feels something off, and wonders why the gaze feels strange, like something weird just happened. His thoughts spiral as he questions why life should be colorless, transparent, and normal, yet somehow this moment pulls too much attention. The noise spikes as whispers spread that Mikoto is surrounded by people, bodies closing in while she stiffens at her desk, eyes wide as attention presses too close. Someone notes that no one should be approaching her at all, because her aura usually shuts everyone out, sharp and cold enough to keep distance. The tension breaks when Hashimoto steps forward with a bright grin, dragging Mikoto along as if nothing is wrong, calling out a casual good morning to Haruto, and teasing that everyone already arrived and gathered. The crowd leans in, whispering that the friendly class president Hashimoto stands there smiling, while beside her is Kirishima Shima, who often gets influenced by Hashimoto's pace. And someone hesitates, wondering if speaking to her is even allowed. Eyes slide toward Haruto as murmurs spread that every gaze is locked on him, that it feels less like curiosity and more like judgment, making his shoulders tense as he mutters a stunned good morning and questions why all those eyes are aimed his way. The pressure sharpens when someone bluntly states that Haruto is dating Mikoto, the word girlfriend hitting hard. And Hashimoto leans closer with a soft but dangerous smile, calmly confirming the situation while telling him to stay calm. Shock slams the room as Haruto's face drains of color, sweat breaking out. Across from him, Mikoto stiffens, cheeks flushed, eyes wide and shaking as the same jolt hits her, that sharp wit cutting straight through her. Calm. The scene snaps loud as classmates crowd in, Hashimoto blurting that the two live together, another grabbing Haruto by the collar and calling out girlfriend rumors, asking where that nonsense came from and why they never go to school together, pushing hard for the truth and demanding what they are hiding. Haruto sweats and freezes, eyes spiraling as panic hits, wondering how the secret leaked and what was seen, face burning but steady, correcting it fast by admitting they were found out, yet explaining they never lived together as lovers, only sharing a place as family and siblings. Haruto freezes as the room turns loud, eyes wide and breath stuck, thinking Mikoto has been surrounded and questioned until this moment. Mikoto sits small at the desk, cheeks red, fingers trembling, eyes shaking as voices close in and demand answers about living together and whether that life is right. The sound cutting through the tension, while whispers spread and shadows lean closer. Someone turns to Haruto and presses for his view, making sweat bead and panic rise. He shuts down the noise, saying this is not the time to worry about petty misunderstandings, calling the talk about living together twisted and way worse than reality. Haruto grips his chest, eyes sharp, deciding something must be done as sweat runs down his face. He steps forward, voice shaking but loud, admitting clearly that he and Mikoto live in the same house. No hiding, no running. The room explodes, body's jolt shock hits hard as the truth lands. Haruto leans forward, forcing a smile, explaining fast that Mikoto and he are only siblings living in an empty house. Not lovers, not dating, nothing like that. She adds that there is no way they flirt at home, but the crowd snaps back, accusing lies, calling it a cheap trick, saying nobody would believe such a story. Haruto winces, frustrated, while someone scoffs that a super cute and perfect girl like Mikoto would never date him anyway. Laughter stings, tension spikes, and then Mikoto steps in calmly, eyes steady, saying the explanation sounds reasonable. Hashimoto smiles sweetly, admitting that she is beautiful and charming, cool and kind, and if Haruto were to fall in love and confess, that feeling would honestly be welcome. Haruto freezes with a shocked face, hands flying up, rushing to deny it, saying thanks but that kind of thing does not fit, insisting that Haruto and Mikoto are not compatible at all. She tilts her head, still smiling, saying there is no problem. But Haruto spirals inside, panicking, thinking there is no way someone like Mikoto would ever match with him. No way dating could happen. Hashimoto laughs with a teasing grin and asks Riko what she thinks, the mood light with humming energy, while Riko hesitates with clasped hands. Riko slowly admits that she might be happy too if Haruto confessed, saying Haruto confessing would feel nice, the words floating gentle but dangerous. Haruto suddenly snaps into shock, eyes wide and sweating, shouting in disbelief that even Kirishima too, the room flipping from playful to chaotic. Hashimoto points with a smug smile and says the prediction is right, pushing the moment harder and telling everyone to listen to the opinion of the goddess here. Hashimoto leans in close, asking seriously what the real opinion about Haruto is, her voice low and dangerous. Haruto finally breaks, saying sympathy goes to Mikoto, who is already in trouble, admitting no help can be given at all, the words heavy and guilty. Tension spikes as Haruto leans forward saying just a little is enough, just a bit is fine, wanting to know, wanting the truth, wanting Mikoto raise opinion about him, and demanding to know her answer. Mikoto freezes, fingers clutching her chest, eyes trembling as the weight of being asked directly crashes down. The name Mikoto-san echoing in the air like a final call. The moment tightens as Hashimoto forces honesty, saying to be honest and asking what Mikoto thinks about Akahara, his face strained as he explains how rumors spread, how classmates somehow learned Mikoto-san lived together, How the situation spiraled into people believing dating rumors, his thoughts racing, and ending up cornered by that misunderstanding. Makoto listens in silence, the chapter turning into a strategic meeting between two hearts. Her blush deepening as she admits certainty that confusion will happen because Makoto-san's opinion about Haruto matters. Makoto looks away then back again, her expression soft but conflicted. Admitting that many girls would probably fall in love with Haruto, her voice steady yet shy as she adds that her opinion is the same, and that Haruto is kind and also cool, the words landing heavy in the small room. Hashimoto freezes, sweat breaking as he tilts his head and wonders what that really means, his face stuck between hope and panic, while the air fills with a quiet and awkward silence. The room erupts as whispers spread, wondering if the goddess actually likes Haruto, hands flying and faces shocked while Makoto stands frozen. Haruto panics, cheeks burning, realizing that talking about being kind and cool out loud just turned dangerous, especially with everyone watching. He rushes to explain that speaking honestly like that could make it look like they are dating, his thoughts spiraling as he admits that hearing Makoto say those things made him genuinely happy. Sweat drops, his smile turns awkward, and the tension spikes, romance and misunderstanding colliding in front of the whole class, teasing fate just a little too hard. Suspicion hits hard as he leans in, half teasing and half serious, already sure that Haruto is dating someone, and wondering which goddess confessed first, that the guess sounds right. Makoto stiffens in shock, blurting that it is not like that, insisting she is not a goddess at all, only someone who keeps causing trouble for Akahara. Her eyes shake as guilt spills out, saying she does not deserve kindness from Akahara, that if someone should be his girlfriend it should never be her. Hashimoto smiles calmly and drops the truth that Makoto clearly looks like someone who likes Akahara, even admitting she feels jealous of him. Makoto panics first, face burning as she clenches her fists and denies that liking Haruto that much could be true. The mood tightens as she points out that Makoto keeps using the same strategy, pretending distance while emotions leak out, making it obvious that lying is pointless. Haruto stands there awkward but honest, saying that was exactly why dating could never happen, adding that it is impossible for Makoto to dislike him anyway. Makoto tries to push back, saying she might not even be that convincing. Yet the final hit lands softly when Hashimoto tells her she does not need to lie like that. Hashimoto leans in with a teasing smile, pointing out that living under the same roof means Haruto might do something strange, while casually saying this pattern again makes everything obvious. Makoto snaps back to reality, eyes wide and voice sharp, insisting that Haruto will never do such a thing. The background fades with whispers and rustling, eyes gathering on them. Hashimoto crosses her arms with a knowing smile, calmly asking whether Makoto hates men and whether she truly believes Akahara, while Makoto drops her gaze and admits belief exists, but hesitation still holds on. Hashimoto leans in with a playful yet sharp grin, pointing out how obvious Makoto's feelings for Haruto look. Her fingers tighten, cheeks flushing as she softly denies hatred, eyes trembling. Makoto turns aside, embarrassed and exposed, and Hashimoto opens her arms like the answer is already decided, saying that if the goddess is not dating Akahara. Hashimoto comes close from behind and lightly grabs Riko, smiling as she says that if things stay like this then Riko or Hashimoto herself will take Akahara, adding that it would not be a problem at all. Makoto freezes in shock, eyes wide and breath caught, clearly confused by the sudden move. Hashimoto keeps talking calmly, saying there is no need to hide anything, honestly saying that hiding feelings has no use. Hashimoto continues by saying it is because the goddess already knows. Makoto's face fills the moment carrying the look of a girl falling in love, as the thought lands hard. Haruto and the others watching, the air going quiet while Makoto stands frozen, hands stiff at her sides. The words linger that she is wearing the face of someone in love, and the truth hits deeper than expected. He decides he will not leave Makoto alone when she is on the verge of tears, knowing it would only hurt more if he tried to force the timing now. He rubs his head, admitting that if he tries to add more at this moment, things will probably get messy again. His eye tightens as the thought lands that she looks so pitiful, almost about to cry, and the worry shows on his face. His hand clenches, the feeling settling in, and the choice becomes clear that if that is how it is, he will stop right there. Haruto moves first, thinking whether staying together as lovers or not no longer matters, deciding it is better to give everyone what they want to know. Makoto freezes behind him, cheeks flushed, surprise written all over her face as he grips her hand and pulls her forward. His pace is fast, the tension loud, and he calls for Makoto to talk outside. She stumbles after him as the moment turns bold and reckless, charged with feelings that refuse to stay hidden any longer. The crowd stares while he chooses action, choosing to run away outside and make a plan to fix everything. Hashimoto teases loudly, saying class just started, and this is the perfect time to go on a date. Skipping the first period would be pointless. Haruto panics and shuts it down fast, saying this is not a date and not a discussion to clear misunderstandings, stressing that class has already started. Haruto leans in close, quietly pushing the moment forward and telling her to go. Makoto freezes, then answers softly with a shaky yes. Hands meet without hesitation, and the noise fades as the choice becomes real. Eyes linger first, watching everything without a word. Haruto runs ahead, pulled forward as Makoto grips his hand, her hair flowing, steps firm. Keiho remains behind, turning away as distance grows, the choice clear in motion alone. Haruto glances back mid-run, shock crossing his face as sweat beads, realizing Keiho behind. Makoto keeps pulling, steady and bold, while the space between them and the past stretches wider, turning silence into a loud decision that feels fast. Haruto and Makoto walk hand in hand, tension obvious as he stiffens and asks for her to let go now, while she hesitates and drags him toward the laboratory, insisting they hide there for now. Makoto mutters a weak refusal, the situation already messy, and her grip tightens as Haruto panics and says there is no need to worry about that. Makoto turns away, flustered, admitting she does not want to cause more trouble for Haruto, her face burning as the chaos grows louder around them. Haruto leans in too close, blurting that she is not a bother at all. She looks up, cheeks flushed, asking if staying like this a little longer would be allowed, and the question hits Haruto hard enough to make him react in shock. Makoto notices the warmth of Haruto's hand and admits it feels very comfortable, her fingers tightening as the moment lingers. Makoto quickly pulls back, realizing she asked too much, whispering an apology as her hands fidget and her eyes waver. Makoto walks ahead in silence, and Haruto follows, confused, asking if feeling sad came from being blamed again and panicking as he wonders what happened to Makoto-Rei. She suddenly turns, softly calling Haruto, and the air tightens. Makoto bows deeply, apologizing because Haruto ended up in trouble because of her, her skirt swaying as she bends too far and makes Haruto freeze in shock. Her voice trembles while saying sorry again, cheeks burning, the apology landing hard as Haruto stares. Makoto trembles, tears pooling as she admits everything became like this because of a misunderstanding, because the mistake of being called Haruto girlfriend dragged Sasaki and Sakurai into trouble, and because everyone in class said so many things to him. Haruto panics and waves his hands, saying there is no need to worry at all, shouting that all the talk in class about liking Keiho and Yukino and all the gossip is wrong. Makoto lowers her head, voice breaking, saying she does not understand why Haruto treats her like this, why being together feels natural, why kindness keeps reaching her. Haruto freezes, eyes wide, caught off guard, as her words hang heavy, her cheeks red, her heart exposed, and the tension turns sharp and intimate, like a secret about to spill. Makoto clenches her skirt, breath shaking, saying she feels happy telling Hashimoto that she likes Haruto, admitting that if this stayed hidden it would only cause trouble for Haruto. Her eyes shine and tremble at the same time, hands pressed to her chest as the words spill out raw and honest. She looks up at him and asks how this should be settled, saying it might be simple to just start dating. Haruto freezes with a blown-out expression as the idea drops hard. Haruto spirals, blurting confusion, wondering what that even means, calling Makoto-san's name while his head spins. Makoto flustered but pushing through, explaining that in other words Haruto and her would pretend to become a couple, asking if that really could make her his girlfriend. Makoto stands firm, cheeks red, saying that if there are already that many rumors spreading in class, it would be harder to say they are not together anyway. Makoto looks straight ahead, cheeks flushed, asking why they do not just say they have been dating from the start, her voice bold but nervous. Haruto lights up instantly, fist clenched, calling it a brilliant idea and agreeing without hesitation, his excitement almost cartoonish. The mood flips as Haruto suddenly freezes, heart pounding, realizing he almost messed up by choosing the worst option possible. Remembering how bad things were with Sasaki Keiho back then, and how wrong his feelings were at that time, Haruto stumbles through an awkward hum, asking what should be done now. Sweat drips as guilt creeps in, admitting there was something with Keiho before, the memory hitting hard. Mikoto tilts her head and softly checks whether Haruto likes Sasaki Keiho, and Haruto scratches his cheek, admitting with an awkward smile that he once confessed and still got rejected. Mikoto accepts it with a quiet really, eyes gentle but thoughtful. Haruto exhales and says he does not want to push things too far, worrying Keiho might think the ending feels strange, and he adds that the same applies with Yuki as well. As they walk side by side, Haruto admits that pretending to be Mikoto's boyfriend feels kind of dishonest since nothing is officially acknowledged yet, his smile uneasy but sincere. Mikoto slows down, cheeks warm, confessing she feels the same way. Mikoto stands at the doorway, cheeks flushed, apologizing and admitting she had already thought about dating Haruto for real and asked him to consider it, then quickly adds that is not what she meant, leaving Haruto frozen and confused. Their eyes widen at the same time, both letting out a stunt as the room falls silent. The door slides open to an empty room, and Haruto steps forward to check inside. In the next beat, Mikoto suddenly stumbles into him, bodies colliding, her face pressed close as she blurts out what is happening, while Haruto gasps and stiffens, heart racing. The locker door creaks, and a sharp "why" escapes as Haruto freezes, wondering why this is happening, and if someone is there, while Mikoto stiffens behind him. The door swings open and Yukino steps in, eyes wide, cheeks flushed, asking why Yuki is here as her gaze locks onto them. Dark thoughts pile up as Haruto sweats, worrying about being asked whether dating is real, while classmates already know time is spent with Mikoto. Right when a secret strategy meeting begins to deal with classmates and dig through rumors, Yuki suddenly appears in front of them, quiet but sharp, stopping the room cold. Panic flashes across his face as the idea hits that Yukino might have figured everything out from the start. Yukino clutches her chest, apologizing and saying there was no intention to eavesdrop, her voice tight and honest. She explains there was just some business, leaving Haruto stunned as he blurts out why she is here, confused by the sudden presence. He spirals fast, panicking about what has been heard, swearing there was never talk of dating or anything strange. Yukino tilts her head, asking calmly if that means what was said earlier was all fake, her quiet words hitting harder than shouting. Haruto grabs his head, stressed and flustered, muttering about how everything keeps going wrong, while Yukino stands there flustered too. Haruto freezes, thinking it would be bad if the conversation had been overheard, realizing it would sound like they were dating, and blurting that it would not be good at all. Yukino looks at both of them and asks straight if they truly are not dating, her calm tone cutting through the tension, then admits she already thought about yesterday, saying that if they were alone together, misunderstandings were bound to happen. Haruto rushes in, apologizing and saying the misunderstanding is his fault, insisting there was nothing like dating. Yukino listens, then smiles with relief, saying it is fine, and that she feels at ease knowing Haruto only likes Keiho. She blushes hard, clutching her hands and admitting she feels the same, while Yukino softly thanks them, glad that everything is clear and that there was no secret relationship after all. Yukio steps forward, calmly saying that Haruto and Mikoto should just pretend to be dating, asking if becoming fake lovers would work. Haruto panics and blurts a rushed yes, sweat breaking out as Yukino smiles and says she will cooperate too. Yukino explains that she will watch over them, saying this is her way of standing between Haruto and Sasaki Keiho. Yukino continues that this idea should help both Keiho and Haruto. Haruto scratches his head and admits he thinks Yukino has a point, agreeing she might watch them. Yukino looks serious and adds that according to Keiho, forcing Haruto is not the goal, because Keiho does not want him to feel pressured. Yukino smiles softly and explains that Sasaki Keiho thinks Haruto can still belong to himself, saying that even if everyone keeps a friend's relationship for now, feelings can change and hearts can move on. Yukino adds that Keiho believes Haruto will stay himself and does not need to be owned by anyone. Rei watches from the side, flustered and wide-eyed, while Haruto freezes in confusion. Haruto reacts with disbelief, thinking that idea sounds strange, questioning if that really makes sense. Yukino calmly answers that Haruto is not something to be taken away, saying Haruto is not a prize to be carried off by someone else. Sasaki Keiho walks ahead while holding Haruto's hand, casually saying that being used by a boy like him is fine, confident that even if feelings are not returned, he will still accept it. She adds that the feeling will surely be pleasant, speaking lightly as if teasing fate herself. Haruto follows, blushing hard, shaken by how boldly she thinks, admitting internally that this was never expected from her. Yukino watches and softly agrees, confirming that thought makes sense, while Haruto mutters that Keiho thinking like that feels unreal. The moment lingers as Haruto finally exhales, calling Keiho a clever and mischievous girl. Realizing she always knows exactly what she is doing, she hurriedly admits that despite everything, she truly likes Keiho, causing Haruto to panic before quickly nodding and confessing that he likes her too, prompting Yukino to smile in relief and say thank goodness. This is where it finally begins, as she calmly explains that Keiho will soon realize it isn't normal to always monopolize Haruto, that she will become aware of her true feelings, and that those feelings will turn into a sense of threat when Haruto and Makoto pretend to be dating, with brief imagined scenes of Keiho looking shocked and confused as she senses something is wrong, while Yukino confidently raises her finger, declaring this is how it goes and how it begins, as Haruto and Makoto stand silently behind her, stunned, while the plan moves forward and emotions are set into motion. Haruto blurts out in shock, asking if this is really how it will be before immediately agreeing with a stiff yeah, while Yukino smiles softly with her hands to her chest and calmly says that love means thinking of others, not just oneself, and that she is certain Keiho feels the same way. Then gently checks on Makoto Rei, who stands with her arms folded and looks away as she replies that she is fine since this was unexpected from the start, before admitting with a sharp, serious gaze that she has no intention of letting Haruto and Keiho date, the scene lowering as her eyes narrow with firm resolve. Haruto stiffens as the realization hits that Haruto does not like Makoto or Yukino but clearly likes Keiho, his eyes widening as his breath catches, while Yukino steps closer with a calm smile and says this is their chance to work together, lightly touching his tie as she speaks with quiet confidence. The memory of yesterday slips in and deepens the confusion as a quiet pause cuts through the air and uneasy eyes search for the truth. The heavy realization forming that Sakurai also likes Akahara, her feelings obvious on her face, while tension lingers and doubt rises over whether Haruto and Sasaki are truly dating, until Yukino steps forward with steady clarity and says that Haruto liking someone is just a misunderstanding, the light catching her glasses as her resolve sharpens, and as her true wish is finally revealed, the greatest hope being Keiho staying by Haruto's side. The scene settles on Haruto and Keiho standing close together, framed by soft tension as the romance begins to feel real and their emotions finally align. The scene shifts as Yukikoto Yukino stands calm and gentle, her hands resting lightly on her chest, as she says that what she truly wants is something deeper and more important than before, while Haruto freezes with a worried expression and wonders why she cares so much about his relationship with Keiho, his thoughts clearly spinning, and she then smiles softly and admits that she admires childhood friends like Haruto and Keiho, the bond they share touching her heart as the mood drifts into memory with small figures appearing to show her wish for a childhood friend like that, someone who stays together from a young age and understands everything without words, until Yukino's eyes soften as she speaks of someone who has been with her since childhood, who truly understands her and loves her, and the moment lingers in quiet reflection. The mood grows quiet as the truth settles in that she sadly does not have a childhood friend, the memory surfacing that back in elementary school, he kept transferring from school to school, and the flow shifts as she calmly accepts it and says yes, that kind of bond is something she cannot have, her expression softening behind her glasses with warm cheeks and honest eyes as she clearly admits she did not fall in love with Haruto, before the final moment lands gently but deeply when she places a hand to her chest and confesses that she fell in love with the relationship between Haruto and Keiho. Shock freezes the air as Haruto and Makoto stare wide-eyed with sweat breaking out, the heavy thoughts striking whether these are truly Yuki's real feelings, before the scene slides left and Haruto turns to call out to Makoto-san, asking if she will help them with a voice that is both tense and hopeful, and the moment grows heavy and intimate as Yuki steps closer, flushed yet steady, leaning into Makoto's space and offering everything for the love story of two people, doing it all for Haruto. Yuki steps in with a calm smile and plainly states that Haruto's desire is to date Keiho, saying it without fear, then leans closer with bright eyes and softly, yet sharply asks whether Makoto-san wanting to make Haruto's wish come true is not exactly that, causing Makoto to stiffen on the left as sweat forms, and she confesses that the only thing she wants is to do whatever she can for Haruto, her resolve trembling but sincere. Makoto stands with her arms crossed, releasing a shaky breath as she falls into silence, while Haruto freezes with wide eyes, realizing that none of this feels strange at all. And the flow drops lower as the plan is revealed, that Makoto will ask Yukikoto-san to fake a relationship, pretending to be a couple so Haruto can freely grow closer to Keiho. The idea striking as a kind of crazy talk at first before the next beat pushes it further, declaring that for now they will act as lovers and spread the rumor that Makoto-san and Haruto are dating, with cute imagined images flashing of Haruto and Makoto standing side by side as hearts float around them to sell the lie, until the mood shifts again as Makoto turns away, unable to ignore feelings like that, admitting it hurts, lowering her gaze as she quietly says this is true and that she is doing it all for Haruto. Haruto lunges forward with a sharp breath, eyes wide and voice firm, as he says that Makoto-san does not need to think about him or Keiho anymore, his hand lifting as the words spill out fast and honest, leaving Makoto staring up at him in stunned silence as her eyes soften and surprise freezes her in place. Makoto lowers her gaze and admits that she has caused Haruto a lot of trouble and made many mistakes, then calmly says that if he wants to date Sasaki Keiho she will support it, because doing everything she can for him is the reason she acts at all. But Haruto steps in quickly with his voice raised, saying that everything is already clear and that Makoto does not need to worry about repaying anything, as he firmly takes her hands with wide, serious eyes and tells her not to think about returning favors, while Yukino watches in silence as the moment grows intense and dangerously intimate, like a quiet promise slipping past the fake arrangement and pulling real feelings into the open. Haruto leans forward with flushed cheeks and sharp eyes, saying that Makoto does not need to pretend to be his girlfriend, and that the misunderstanding can be left for time to resolve, causing Makoto to freeze with wide eyes and a caught breath as his words land close and hard, before he raises his voice again to stress that her own feelings matter more, the moment turning heavy and real as he steps closer and lets his emotions spill out, telling her to think first about what Makoto truly wants to do, not about fixing mistakes or playing roles. The words fall softly yet sink deep, carrying the hope that Makoto can choose what she truly wants, not what others expect of her. Her lips part as her breath turns unsteady, her heartbeat ringing loudly in her chest. Unwavering support slowly wraps around her like a gentle embrace. Her fists tightens as she admits that she has to do what she wants, a quiet yes settling in her chest, before the thought strikes hard, and she wonders whether Akahara will listen no matter how selfish she might sound. He answers without hesitation, of course, flashing a confident smile and a thumbs up, while the girl behind them watches in silence. Makoto's expression softens, her eyes trembling as warmth rises to her cheeks and her breathing steadies, the heavy weight finally lifting, and the feeling becomes clear and honest as the truth comes out. Because that is what Haruto wants, and because of that, she will do what she wants. Her fingers tremble near her lips as her long hair drifts across the frame, the air growing soft and heavy, and at last the confession breaks free as she admits that she wants to become Akahara's girlfriend. Haruto jolts in shock and stiffens, his mouth falling open and his eyes trembling as he is completely blindsided by what just landed, the impact freezing him with wide eyes and a caught breath, while her fingers hover near her lips as if the words hit too hard, and Yuki snaps a hand over her mouth with her heart racing and sweat breaking out as the confession echoes in her mind. Panic spills out as she suddenly shouts that everything she said before was wrong, her face burning as her hands fly up to hide the chaos, confessing that her real wish was simple and reckless, to be Haruto's girlfriend, and to do whatever she can for Akahara. The room seems to stutter as she curls in on herself, trembling, until another voice snaps back in shock, calling out to Makoto and asking if she even understands what she just said. Haruto freezes mid-breath, sweat breaking out as he cuts in sharply, and declares that Haruto will never be handed over to Sasaki-san, causing the girl with glasses to jolt with her hands raised and cheeks flushed, whispering his name as if the floor beneath her might vanish. Yuki rushes forward with trembling hands and flushed cheeks, blurting out that Haruto fits best with Keiho and pushing the claim again and again, insisting that Haruto and Keiho will surely fall in love, her voice loud and frantic with panic, until Makoto turns sharply and fires back, demanding to know what Yuki truly wants and what her words even mean, calling it out as trying to make Sasaki-san a childhood friend to replace loving Haruto, causing Yuki to freeze as her shoulders tense in her hands clutch her sleeves, softly denying it, and admitting that saying something like that feels wrong, that perhaps it is not what she truly wants after all. Makoto turns her face away in silence, her eyes trembling, while Sakura watches her own reflection and quietly admits that what she wants is probably not what she truly desires. And the air tightens as Makoto looks back with a steady, wounded gaze and calmly, but heavily tells Sakura that she should also do what she wants, leaving Haruto frozen in place with sweat on his face as he is caught under the weight of those words, until Makoto steps forward with her feelings no longer hidden and clearly states that Sakura is the one who likes Haruto, forcing the truth into the open. Yuki deeply as she admits that what she loves is the relationship between Haruto and Keiho, and the silence stretches on until Sakura steps in gently, turning to Makoto and saying that she understands, but reminding her that she still needs to value her own feelings and respect what she truly wants, while Haruto stands stunned with wide eyes as Makoto studies herself and repeats the words Haruto once told her that she should protect her own feelings first. Haruto calls out and freezes as Makoto turns back with flushed cheeks and answers with a shy yes, saying she will do what he wants before suddenly telling him to hurry and start practice. The scene snapping to his wide eyes and nervous sweat as he blurts out confused questions about practice and stumbles over his words, until she steps closer with steady resolve and looks straight at him, her voice soft yet bold as she explains that the practice is pretending to be a pair of lovers, making his breath hitch and his head spark with shock. Makoto leans in, cheeks flushed but eyes unwavering, and softly tells him that before anything else, she wants him to try saying it to say it if he likes her. Haruto stiffens as sweat breaks across his skin, her name bursting from his lips as he asks why she would suddenly say something like that, his voice trembling in the open space between them. Makoto does not step back. She holds her ground, breath shallow, waiting, letting the moment decide what comes next.